turn 2. They're still side by side and elbow to elbow as we go to the junior AB 25+ class in 10 seconds. Matt Bruffy, Grant Marriott, Austin Franklin, Zach Nash, Taylor Myers, Jesse Kidlow, and Andrew Boggs. Grant Marriott gets a great jump off the line. He's out of the first turn pretty clean, and into turn 2, he's going to take the early lead out of Ulster, Pennsylvania, the Marriott Trucking Factory Connection Moose Racing backed ride. Open B class coming up next. We got 11 riders in this one. Matt Soares, Jimmy Winterbottom, Dylan Barnhouse, Craig Oberholzer, Dylan Fleming, Gregory Tenney, Colton Hawk, Jacob Maynard, Dawson Nixon, Drew Norris, and Jamison Hardy in 10 seconds. .767, Dawson Nixon from Jonesville, North Carolina on a Nixon Motorsports machine. Getting off to a great start on that Kawasaki now as we get to the senior B40+ class. Gene Swift, Leon Whitaker, Brent Belsel, Chad Miller, Jolson Ramos, Jason Wilson, Brent Maynard, Ray Hinch, Matt Waddell, Shannon Hatfield, and Mike Horwatt in 10 seconds. And our senior B 40+ class are off and rolling now. Trying to get it all sorted out of that first turn. Couple guys side by side. It's going to be 352. That's Joselton Ramos from Milford, Massachusetts. KTM rider taking the early lead in that one. Looks like 4-stroke B lights class coming up next. We got Bradley Bykowski, Austin Hovetter, Trevor Golden, Miles Geffen, Lake Plowman, Wyatt Morris, Colby Dunham, Hayden Schulz, TJ Fine, and Tyler Hashman in 10 seconds. Four-stroke B lights are off and rolling now. Oh, couple down. 172 though. Bradley Bykowski out of New Marshfield, Ohio. Not far from here is opening up with the early lead. Like Lake Plowman and the 429 of Colby Dunham get together in that first turn as we get to the 250B class next. Warren Friend, Adam Moffitt, Wyatt Schumann, Trent Gaither, Joshua Connor, John McGee, Ethan Dingle. 10 seconds. Cameron Madison, Parker Todd, and Ben Odell. All righty, can we figure this one out as these riders head down towards that first turn? 375 crosses the whole shot stripe, or maybe that's 365. But I don't know, man. We're going to go maybe with Adam Moffitt there, 353 out of Glenville, PA, unofficially. So we'll go next to 150B in 10 seconds. Peyton Gwynn, Toby Cleveland, Christopher Eddy, Blake Kohler, Anthony Blackburn, Cooper Jones, Kyle Dutton, and Lightning Lucas Grounds. Will lightning strike here today. Rolling toward that first turn. .321, Peyton Gwynn from Parkersburg, West Virginia, Dunlop, FXR, Flow Vision, and Crash Addicts backed ride. Seconds. Our final row of the Bet B30+ class: Larry Hopper, Cody Hosta, Adam Odell, Daniel Parlier, Nick Bush, Ian Smith, Charles Scott, Corey Tolliver, Jeremiah Taylor, Charles Becker, Ernest Martin, Ambrose Kolaski, Joshua Webb, Jimmy Johnson, and Charlie Torresini. And around the first turn we go here. End of the turn 2, 9:55. Jimmy Johnson from Jefferson, Pennsylvania, KTM rider, grabbing the early lead in this one, in and out of turn 2. And this one is up and rolling, my folks, as we are certainly well into lap number 1 for those front-running pros. Caleb Russell grabbing that early lead, but man, we've got ourselves some excitement going on out on the track here in southeastern Ohio. Will Stu Baylor be able to make it 2 in a row? Will Caleb Russell be able to stand up here on his own turf and not let that happen? Stick around. GNCC Live will continue right after this.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Live coverage of the 2020 GNCC series on RacerTV.com is brought to you by MMI. Get there faster, smarter. Specialized turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. I'm Mikey Waynes, and you have already heard from my colleague Rodney Tomlin down on the start line with those iconic 10-second calls. Ryan Amancio joins me in the booth, and Johnny Gallagher will join us momentarily to give us some of that rider's input on today's race. This is the Yamaha Burr Oak GNCC. And first and foremost, we apologize for the technical difficulties. We're good now. We're ready to roll. Things happen. Hard to set up a live race, I got to tell you, out in the middle of nowhere. So we'll get you posted on what you might have missed with our specialized rapid replay, starting with the XC1, and it's a good one. So Ricky Terry with the waving of the green flag, and our XC1 riders jockeying for position. Fantastic start. Andrew DeLong right there next to Ben Kelly, but the 530 KTM able to squeeze out Andrew DeLong for that whole shot, and a strong start for Jordan Ashburn as well. Caleb Russell there in the middle of the pack, able to work his way up and around the outside and get up there with the front runners. So stage is set for the XC1. And then the XC2, a man that has done it more than once this season. The guy is an absolute machine when it comes to these hole shots in the XC2 class. You probably already know who I'm talking about. And if you don't, I'll tell you. It's Thorne Devlin. Guys, the guy is automatic, to say the least. Thorne Devlin, definitely one of those riders, though. Got those starts dialed in. Still trying to get that complete race. Looking for a win in that XC2. Maybe today is the day. Fantastic start for him, no doubt about it. But, boy, the talent runs deep in the XC2, no doubt about that. Well, if you are wondering what we're looking at here, of course, we race here at Sunday Creek Raceway earlier this season at the John Penton GNCC. This one, the Burr Oak GNCC. So let's take a look at today's track map. It, I believe, is about just shy of an 11-mile course here today that gives these guys a little bit of everything they want. So taking a look at the track map there, you can see featured points there, the FMF Power Point, as well as the Monster Mile, a section of the track, usually one of the more technical sections. May not be a full mile, but we can tell you right now, it'll feel like one. Weather for you today, it's probably in the low 80s. It's been beautiful. There's some clouds in the sky. Nothing looks like it's going to drop some water, although I would say if it did, these guys probably wouldn't be too mad about it. It's been pretty dusty out here all weekend long, and look at that. Some leaves falling on the trees next to our specialized banners there, and a look at Pro Row up here on the hill. Pretty unique Pro Row to everything else we see throughout the season. They're kind of secluded off by themselves at the top of Sunday Creek Raceway, and watching these guys rip through that Pro Row, it's something else, man. If you've never been there and seen it in person, it's impressive, to say the least. So, again, fantastic start for Ben Kelly, and Stu Baylor makes his way back out after the win a couple weeks ago in West Virginia. Can he repeat aboard the AmPro Yamaha today? Of course, that's what everybody's thinking about and talking about. Again, this is our second time here this season. Before we do that, I tell you what, we did actually have a chance to catch up with your most recent winner from the AmPro Yamaha team, Mr. Stu Baylor.
You know, I don't show up to lose. Nobody wants to come here and lose, and you know, I like to have fun. I love to enjoy racing because that's what it was all about. That's why we started. But at the end of the day, you know, it's still work. It's still serious. I'm still here for the same job as everybody else, and you know, I want to have fun while I'm here, but at the same time, you know, I want to be on the center of that box. So, you know, I've definitely had a tough season this far, and overall my outlook, I'd say my overall outlook hasn't changed. I still want a GNCC championship. Obviously, you know, everybody wanted to get the GNCC championship while Caleb was still here and kind of dethrone him, but you know, overall my goal, at least short term, is to beat Caleb as much as I can in the next 4 races. So you know, that's my goal. I'd say that's everybody's goal. I'd say it's safe to say. And you know, I want to win, but I also really want to beat Caleb. It's you know, I looked up to him as a kid, spent a lot of time with him when we were younger, and you know, it's tough to see him go of all people. I think everybody would feel the same. You know, basically knowing that you're running out of time, and that's kind of where I sit right now. I just want to beat Caleb, plain and simple. I know today is definitely going to be one of the tougher days to do it. He's nailing his starts, and it's going to be a dry track. So, you know, I just hope I can park it in front of him, or at least close to him. And, you know, as long as I'm on the box, I'm happy. But if I'm beating Caleb, I'm stoked.
Well, how How about that? Stu Baylor said it right there. I don't come to the race to lose. Nobody comes to the race to lose. And right now, he also touched on the fact that I want to beat Caleb. And knowing that there's only so many races left where that's going to be a possibility, as this is Caleb's last season. We just saw on screen there, if you looked at the picture-in-picture and you were paying attention, that was the 514 Am-Pro Yamaha out in front of Stu Baylor. And that was the #1 KTM of Caleb Russell behind him in the #2 spot. So still early. It's a 3-hour race, but boy, this one's off to a fantastic start. The guy that got the whole shot, Ben Kelly, looked like he was in the #3 spot. But boy, fantastic start for Stu Baylor. Again, this is our second time here this year at Sunday Creek Raceway in Millfield, Ohio. The first race, obviously, the John Penton GNCC, a race where we saw Caleb Russell take the win here at the family farm, if you will. And, you know, they're all special, no doubt about that. But you could just kind of see in the body language of Caleb Russell as he entered the moto track and headed toward that checkered flag. You kind of see the helmet turned to the side as if he's taking it all in. One last time as an XC1 Pro running the full season. And maybe at the time he thought, this is it. This is the last time I race here as an XC1 Pro. Well, fast forward, because 2020 is absolute chaos, and we race when we can, where we can. We ended up back here at Sunday Creek Raceway, and Caleb Russell has another chance to snag another win here at the family farm. But no doubt about it, make no mistake, Stu Baylor is hungry. As if the win a couple weeks ago wasn't enough, he comes out here swinging. And this one is in front of these guys. You are looking at the 4-mile marker here. Again, keep in mind about a 10.5-mile track for these guys, so should see some pretty good laps throughout the 3-hour race here today. GNCC format, as most of folks know watching, maybe it's your first time watching, so to let you know, it is a 3-hour race. And I believe in the Monster Mile here, there is Stu Baylor checking into the Monster Mile. Are we going to see these guys send it today in this this little split rock section, Ryan?
I mean, I hope so, but I hope so, but Stu Baylor, yesterday I said how bikes have, is that, oh no, Caleb went by.
Yeah.
But I said how there's more options of lines, like I said yesterday, that is
Jordan Ashburn getting hung up right there creates the opportunity for Grant Baylor to get around him.
All right, but like I said, look at all the water. But is that Johnny Gerard? And that's Johnny Gerard up front and XC2. I guess we missed him last shot.
Maybe.
Wow.
Back there in the thick of things with Lane Michael.
Yes, and there's Mike right there. But like I said yesterday, there's more options with the bikes compared to quads. And I did say, in fact, oh wow,
they're getting some XC2 guys. They're having some. This is going to be a crazy section as the day wears on. They'll get her dialed in. Maybe they should stick to one line through there. I don't know. They're having some trouble.
Maybe. I haven't seen anyone take the main line yet. I mean, they probably have, but I haven't seen it. Jesse Ansley. Oh.
Still stuck.
Is that Thorne Devlin or Whole Shot rider? Yeah, that is.
Yep, Thorne. So, boy, that's a tough break for Thorne. You know, we were talking about it. You guys saw the replay there. Thorne Devlin has been a whole shot machine all season long. Been a matter for Thorne out of the XC2 class, putting together that complete race, that complete 3 hours to snag a win or a podium finish has eluded him this season. So certainly something he's wanting here today. And after that one, boy, he's probably thankful he's got a lot of race left in front of him before it's all said and done.
Oh yeah, for sure. This track I rode here earlier today, and I'm gonna tell you, it's pretty it's pretty insane. It's here is a lot of stuff. As one side of the track, it's just like this. It's just rocky and sandy. But on the other side of the track, it's like moist and normal, like you would expect from a GNCC. But I'm gonna say something. The track was, there's 3-4 hills there that it was tough to get through, and especially bottlenecks all over the place. But
you guys had some bottlenecks this morning, but you came out victorious.
Yes.
You came out with the win.
It was a hard-fought win, I'll tell you that for sure.
Absolutely, man. You guys had the AM race. Stu Baylor absolutely ripping through the FMF PowerPoint.
Look at that.
Don't blink,
the whole
folks.
thing.
You're going to miss him. There goes Caleb Russell.
It looks like Stu Baylor's already trying to open from Caleb Russell.
He's we'll get a better idea of it, man, when they enter the moto track out here. But boy, they are absolutely moving right now. Ben Kelly still in that number 3 spot, the number 530 KTM.
How about Ben Kelly? He's doing good for a start of a race. He's usually up there.
He has had to duke it out a little bit this season. Ben Kelly, one of those guys that had the injury earlier this season, came back, and we sort of expected him to kind of roll into it slowly, and not the case. Ended up with a top 3 finish, and maybe we thought the same thing about Stu. Stu comes out and gets a daggone win. So who the heck knows? 2020 is unlike any other.
I'm going to say the Johnny Gerard and Mike and XC2, they already caught up to XC1 guys.
That was Mike Wachowski just on screen there, the 282.
I'm going to guess that's through Devlin's team. I'm not sure his name, but there's Stu on blue.
Stu on blue through the Monster Mile marker number 8 right here.
This is the creek that we were looking at yesterday. Caleb Russell. Yeah, Stu's actually opening. Stu is opening.
He's got a pretty good lead. It's going to be interesting to get the clock on that and see just how close they are. There's the 530 of Ben Kelly moving through in the number 3 spot.
And Ben Kelly, he's doing what's most important, having, the champ in his sights. That's what he wants. Grant Baylor in 4th. So good for Grant Baylor for the first lap. Jordan Ashburn, Andrew DeLong, Johnny Gerard battling
Phoenix Honda
with Lane.
There's Lane Michael. Boy, Johnny Gerard. Absolute fantastic start for Johnny Gerard in the XC2. Already into the thick of things out of that XC1 class.
Josh Strang right behind him. Josh Strang coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
I talked to him. He said he's not 100%, but
Mike
he's going to give it his all. So that's good for Josh Strang.
That is good. Strang's seen some races like that this year. Of course, not coming off an injury like today, but he has had some races where it wasn't the best start. Made things pretty, Liam Draper, made things difficult for him as the race wore on, but he was able to chip away and ended up with a podium a couple of times. No, XC2, Johnny Gerard's up there, way up into the XC1 class. Mike Wachowski in the number 2 spot. And
I haven't seen Craig DeLong yet, have you?
I don't think I've seen Craig.
Either that was Craig that just went by that. I'm not sure. Craig DeLong's pretty back there. And notice how John Gerard is doing the exact same thing he did last race. Got out front really early, and he just booked it. He just said bye,
He just said bye.
Oh, yeah. So, he's doing the same thing, and hopefully it's going to work for him again this time,
It's quite possible.
Oh, yeah. Last time he got up to 3rd overall. So I talked to him earlier today, too, yesterday, and he said he's just focused more on points of championship than the overall. But he said, if I can't win it, I'll focus for overall.
I want to say, I think Johnny Gerard actually picked up the win here earlier this year in the XC2 class.
I'm not sure.
Do you remember, Rodney? Maybe? Folks at home, I guarantee you. I know he without a doubt podiumed.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
I think John Gerard hasn't missed a podium this year, has he?
I don't believe so. It's definitely been a year that things are clicking for him, which in hindsight, you look back, a year or two ago, and we wondered if we'd see Johnny Gerard race again, and he comes back, and he's done some pretty amazing things.
Oh, yeah. Remember him in 2018-17 on that 300 wide open. That was the funnest thing to see, so.
You can hear them in the distance.
Yeah, I can hear them.
This is mile marker 8. So again, a 10.5-mile course for you today. So we should be seeing them pop out on the moto track here in the next few minutes. Everything going pretty smooth so far.
XC3 125. What is this?
If you guys are, there's Jason Raines on the number 100.
You didn't get the whole shot this time. This time, I'm for sure that was 222.
Yeah, I think you're right.
KTM's fighting over.
But if you're just joining us, Stu Baylor out in front in this one. Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot, followed in 3rd by Ben Kelly. Fantastic start for Ben Kelly, as well as Andrew DeLong. Great start for him. He was running right behind Ben Kelly, falling back off that pace a little bit.
He was?
From the whole shot, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about
There's JoJo.
Oh, my. He caught up, too. He's already up in the XC3.
JoJo Cunningham.
But where is Brody? JoJo, he is desperate. He hasn't got a win from the last 2-3 races. He is so desperate.
Now, didn't JoJo move up a class, though? I thought he wrapped up a championship, and he has moved up, so.
I'm pretty sure he moved up. And look, you already made the pass. Quite a lot of people. Well, I wonder what happened to Brody, I guess, because he did get the whole shot, I'm pretty sure, and had the lead going to the woods. Probably made a mistake, but
Rodney out there getting attacked by bees right now.
oh yeah. Don't
So
get
looking
stung.
at the Monster Mile, we can hear our leaders off in the distance. Should be checking in here to the moto track. Hopefully we'll get a shot of them moving through there soon, and we'll get the clock on that. See just how far Stu Baylor is trying to put a little bit of distance between him and the rest of the pack. Pretty evenly spread out. Something that we saw yesterday on the ATV side as well. When talking to the riders, it was without a doubt a factor was the dust. Even Adam McGill himself said, "I just did not want to battle that dust up there. I was content where I was at. Was going to take what I could get." So we'll see if that's the case here on the two-wheel side of things. So far, hadn't really been much of a factor, but man, it's early.
Yes, but one thing too, we're going to see if time will come into play, because yesterday for quads, they did an extra 15 to 20 minutes,
They did.
I'm guessing. So, and for me too, I did an extra 15 minutes. So let's see if it's going to play out for them too, or if they're going to end up early. But most likely, they will probably finish a little bit later too.
The way the track was set up, with the distance they've got today, with the way the course is set up, our AM race, did you guys run long in the youth class?
An hour and I did an hour and 45 minutes.
I know our AM class.
An hour and 30.
It was right on that cusp of, hey, we're going to run short or we're going to run a little long. It ended up going a little long in the AM class, so we may see some of that here today. So without a doubt, lap traffic, pit strategy definitely going to come into play. It does every race, but these races that seem to go on a little longer than what they're used to. If you remember earlier this year, which it's not quite as hot as it was when we were here the first time this year, but that was the one. Strang ended up finishing second, and he was absolutely exhausted. Leaders on screen right there in the Yamaha Racing Skycam. Good look at Stu Baylor as he moves back into the woods here for a moment, and he'll be popping out on the other side here.
Oh yeah.
Onto the moto track. Hard to beat the bird's eye view. And give it 2 weeks. More of those leaves will be falling. We'll be able to see right in there.
Oh, yeah. So, Stu Baylor out front.
My goodness, Stu Baylor.
A big gap, looks like, coming into the motocross track right now. So,
past the
yell for him,
beta
because,
pits.
you got to make him happy that he's in first. There he is.
Man, he's got to feel good about this.
Yeah,
we'll get the clock on it. Rodney and Johnny G watching him on the motocross track here at Sunday Creek Raceway.
Oh, they wet the whole track. They wet the whole track. That's why. All right.
Stu chilling. He's chilling right now.
Look at the gap.
Enjoying it.
That's a good gap. From what it was, that is a good gap. In 2 miles, he made that much. That's pretty good.
Stu Baylor picking up exactly where he left off 2 weeks ago in West Virginia. Gonna check in here, and with a first lap completed. And there is Caleb Russell behind him in second. I think Caleb made up a little bit of time on that moto track right there, the 530 of Ben Kelly.
Yeah, this part right here, it's a good twisty hard stuff, because it's almost as it's uphill but off camber, so that was a pretty tricky spot that GNCC put there. But Stu Baylor running good.
Stu Baylor out front, 32 minutes and 41 seconds, his first lap time. Officially, Caleb Russell checks in 32 minutes, 48 seconds. That puts him 7.5 seconds back from Stu Baylor. And Ben Kelly, another 8 seconds back in the number 3 spot. So our 1, 2, and 3 all fairly close. Not tight racing, but definitely within each other's eyesight. And
Mikey,
oh my goodness, what is this?
This is the new VP for the afternoon race. They did not get off track. These boys know where they're going. They're heading in. This is where they'll be getting their fuel, their goggles, their water, all that throughout the race. But only the afternoon bike race runs this particular section. So you can see that gap is pretty negligible at this point, 7 seconds. So they're an eye shot. But those top 3 starting to run away just a little bit. And he'd be remiss not to mention Stu Baylor picking up where he left off just 2 weeks ago, out front, leading the way, kicking up dust and making everybody eat it. Caleb Russell interjected himself into this battle early. Ben Kelly right there. So Stu Baylor, Ben Kelly, both up front, just like they were 2 weeks ago. And Caleb Russell back there as well.
XC2 riders, how about it, Mike?
There's no way. He's in third overall.
Johnny Gerard, third overall. Mike Wachowski, the 282, he's in 5th overall. Right behind him is that 990 Beta machine of Cody Barnes, 3rd in class, 6 overall. So our XC2 guys already out there making a statement. Johnny, I think when they went back into the pits, I didn't expect that. Well, and I don't think the people at home did either. They probably were, well, no, he's heading back to Yamaha. Not the case. I'm glad you jumped in there.
Yep, they got that section of track all dialed in. Those guys had walked it, it's arrowed out. But, you know, with Johnny Gerard in the 3rd place spot there, Wachowski back in 5th, Cody Barnes at 6th. You got 3 XC2 riders in your top 6. Keep in mind, though, folks, and not to say those guys are absolutely out there shredding. Pretty common, actually, to see this early in the race, especially a track as tricky as a surface as this is. It's that hard-packed Ohio clay. They're trying to feel it out. XC1 guys are a little bit more, you know, kind of cautious and reserved on the first lap, and the XC2 guys are just sending it. Johnny Gerard ran up in a podium position throughout much of our race just 2 weeks ago at the Mountaineer, and now he's back there again already on lap 1. So today, has he learned enough to be able to run that pace throughout the race where he stays up in there? We saw last race, completely depleted himself, was sitting on the ground, not even speaking in anything that resembled complete sentences after the race. And he said, in his team owner, Ross Murray from Trail Jesters, even said, hey, look, we're not focused on the overalls here. We're here to win an XC2 race and an XC2 title. So he backed it down. He didn't have it in the tank to keep running that overall pace. Today might be the day. He might put it on the overall podium. But as of right now, your top 10 as they run on screen there, Stu Baylor Jr., Caleb Russell, Johnny Gerard, Ben Kelly, Mike Wachowski, Cody Barnes, Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Liam Draper, and Andrew DeLong rounding out the top 10 overall. Now 1 lap in and just over 35 minutes complete of this race.
It's fantastic. Johnny Gerard, one of those guys that, I don't know if you folks at home, some of them probably familiar with David Goggins. Veteran, runs these ridiculous 100-mile races. The guy's all about make 0 excuses, and he uses some other terminology that we can't say on RacerTV, but that is the kind of guy that Johnny Gerard reminds me of. He's going to push himself to the absolute physical limit. But yeah, like you said, Johnny, it's just a question, can he do it for 3 hours?
And you know, Mike, we saw that 2 weeks ago. I mean, you can't, the grimacing, the pain, the sheer agony on his face that we saw 2 weeks ago, you can't fake that. Look at this. We got our Yamaha Skycam, folks, and he's following right now with this drone. He's following Stu Baylor through these chicanes. He's going to make a left here, up along this tree line, and jump back across the road to the other side of the property here at Sunday Creek. And here he goes. That is a main county road there, jumping up over, and looking like he might have opened it up again a little bit over Caleb Russell.
Where is Caleb Russell? He was only 7. He pushed it, I think, to a 10-second gap.
Yeah, it's more than 7 for sure. We'll have to get a split once we see him on screen there. But keep in mind, that side of the road, incredibly dusty. That is the dustiest part of the racetrack. You got about a little over 2 miles of racetrack over on the south side of the road there. And once you get over there, it's, you know, if you're behind somebody, it's kind of like riding with your hand over your eyes. You can't see exactly what you're doing or where you're going. But, you know, so that could play into that as well. But Stu Baylor on a charge, no excuses. He's absolutely putting the hammer down. There's his little brother, Grant, on that Factory One Sherco machine, across the road, coming back over. We last saw him. He was running in that 7th place overall position, 5th place in the XC1 class.
So, Johnny, you raced yesterday on the ATV side of things. How is this track? Is it much different than what we ran with the John Penton earlier this year?
Yeah, I mean, the conditions couldn't be any polar opposite, any more polar opposite than they are. Never see Caleb Russell. So, yeah, I mean, we're probably looking at 8 to 10 seconds. They're still kind of in that same range. Stu, though, really, really hard on the charge, trying to open it up. Obviously, we can see on screen, Mikey, for those of you that watched at home or were here a few months ago when we raced, and there is Ben Kelly, the 530 FMF KTM.
Ben Kelly looks like he's closing up just a bit on Caleb, so.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on those gaps and see exactly how those guys sort that out. But the top 3 right now have opened up, as we see, a considerable gap over the 4th place rider in that XC1 class, which is Grant Baylor. So basically, and here is right there is Grant. So he is still physically ahead of all the XC2 riders, but they are actually closing the gap up on him. Johnny Gerard, Mike Wachowski, Cody Barnes, all closing the gap on Grant Baylor. For physically, and look, there you see, that is Johnny Gerard there, right behind him.
That's less than a minute for sure.
Starting to make some ground. Mike Wachowski there now.
No, that's Lane.
Nope, that's Mike Wachowski there.
It is?
Yep. So there is Mike Wachowski there, and he's on the charge, trying to do all that he can do to close up that gap to get to the back of Johnny Gerard. Now we watch, got more guys coming through here, some XC. There's Andrew DeLong, so there's your 10th place overall rider. And
there's Mike. That's Mike right there.
Coming through here. They got, looks like some more XC2 guys coming through. There's Liam Draper, also running in the top 10, 9th place overall. And Jordan Ashburn. So Jordan actually has lost a spot to Andrew DeLong. Andrew DeLong was in that 10th place spot. Looks like he's moved up to 9th now and gotten around Jordan. So these guys are pushing hard, and you know, it's dusty here early. Mikey, like you were talking about the difference of conditions. We're joined back in the booth here by Rodney Tomlin. You know, the conditions, we just have not had any rain. It's not so dusty though that it's really affecting visibility, with the exception of when they are across on the other side of the road there. It's really dusty over there, but Rodney, on this side of the road, there is some dust haze hanging in the woods, but the real kind of tricky part of this track is trying to find your grip. The clay here is just so slick.
Yep.
You know, when you put that powder on top of it, these guys, it's going to take them a lap or two to find their rhythm. But right now, Stu Baylor's not worried about rhythm. He's throttle hand hard.
And you could probably answer this. I know we've had some more moisture in this 2020 weather pattern season and year than what we have had in years past. And even in the early 2000s when we were here and had some of the most ridiculous dust races we've ever seen. But I think that there's enough moisture deep into the woods. It's not as bad in some of that heavy foliage, or is it starting to dry up now that the ATVs have been through there?
No, like you said, it's definitely not as dusty down in the woods deeper as it is out in the open stuff. This section of the woods here is fairly exposed to the sunlight and the wind as well. It's kind of a thin foliage cover. As you get deeper into the woods, there's definitely some spots down in the valleys. There's actually even some standing water in places.
Really?
Nothing really to speak of, but we do run through a few creeks, and there's some sections that are definitely holding moisture. There we see Evan Earl, Vance Earl's son, one of our XC1 riders as well.
Yeah, he comes with a new team, the Kyler Lenz Motorsports, KLM Kawasaki's what he's riding, and believe it or not, the Kyler Lenz Motorsports team comes from an ATV and a truck racing background, and I know that this year that I talked with Kevin Lenz, who owns the Kyler Lenz Motorsports team. He said that, you know, they were planning on doing GNCC, and then obviously the COVID thing hit, and he didn't get to do as much, or didn't get to do anything really in the early part of the season, but they have dedicated themselves to the final rounds here in 2020. So we welcome the KLM Kawasaki team. We'll be seeing a lot more of Evan Earl throughout the rest of the season on this Kawasaki.
Speaking of Kawasaki's on screen, we don't often get to see quite this far back, but JoJo Cunningham, one of our 4-stroke A lights riders, and he is on the charge hard. We'll have to see where he sits in the overall. But I tell you what, he's an Ohio boy from these parts, runs the Wexer Series and other races here locally, so he's familiar with the territory, he's familiar with the dirt. Would not be surprised if we see him up in the top 20 overall very early in this one.
Actually, JoJo running the lead in that 250A class today. I checked that 4-stroke A lights class because I was wondering if he was still in that, but anyway, it looks like 250A class, Johnny. Regardless, it's your question in the overall. JoJo is sitting in 19th place overall, leading the overall amateurs with Brody Johnson, 250A second place, 20th overall. Folks, I tell you, we got ourselves a great one. Stu Baylor, like Johnny Gallagher said, picking up where he left off 2 weeks ago in the mountains of West Virginia with Caleb Russell hot on his rear wheels. Ben Kelly physically in third, but it's Jonathan Garrar back there in the number 3 spot in adjusted time. How's this one going to pan out? We've got about 2.5 hours to figure it all out. Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lead, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
We are American Motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young, and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
This week in Yamaha history takes us back to the 2007 Powerline Park GNCC in St. Clairsville, Ohio. It was an early October fall when riders like Charlie Mullins getting the early lead on his Yamaha, and riders like Jimmy Jarrett from Ohio, Ampro Yamaha's Barry Hawk, Australia's Glenn Kearney, New Zealand's Paul Whibley, Ohio's Robbie Jinks, and the Isle of Man's David Knight and more reigned supreme. Pro Racing Yamaha's Charlie Mullins had grabbed the early lead and set sail on what he had hoped to be a win in his home state of Ohio. Lurking in the background, some 30 seconds back through most of the race, was David Knight, who had come from the Isle of Man to claim this championship after dominating the world enduro scene in Europe. Jimmy Jarrett moved into the number 3 position, following behind the number 3 of Charlie Mullins. Mullins, who had dropped to the number 2 position after David Knight taking the lead on lap number 4, and Mullins back to the number 2 position. A quick pit stop for David Knight, and the hammer was laid down, as was the gauntlet. Mullins tried as he may to bridge the gap, but could not do so, eventually succumbing to issues and falling out of the race, leaving riders like Barry Hawk on his Yamaha to defend the honor. A dry and dusty and very rocky race course in St. Clairsville, Ohio, left a lot of challenges for a lot of folks, but David Knight met every challenge and conquered every obstacle that day, taking the win by 4 minutes and 20 seconds over the rest of the field. As David Knight showed his dominance that day, another battle was ensuing back for the number 2 position, as Ohio's Jimmy Jarrett was able to capture the second place position with not far behind the number 2 of Barry Hawk on his Pro Yamaha. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
And welcome back to Millfield, Ohio, and this Yamaha Burr Oak GNCC. We are rolling through lap number 2 here in this Sunday bike race. Stu Baylor continuing to lead Caleb Russell, and Ben Kelly back physically in the number 3 spot. Jonathan Garrar in the number 3 spot on adjusted time, leading the XC2 250 Pro class. Mike Witkowski is running 5th overall right now. He is currently 2nd in the XC2 250 Pro class. Cody Barnes, the 990 beta rider out of Sterling, Illinois, he's 3rd in the class and 6th overall. We got some great things going on with those XC2 guys, close to the top 5, a bunch of them it seems like today, and we got some other great exciting stuff going on over in the pits. Mikey Wayne standing by. What's going on, Mikey?
Hey, thanks, Rodney. Down here with Rachel Archer. Speaking of Yamaha, here in the Pro Yamaha pits. Rachel Archer, a fantastic season. You seem to be making great strides throughout the year. You were able to click off another win.
Yeah, I got off to a pretty crappy start. Becca started her bike early, and then I got a fright, so I started my bike early and ended up stalling it, and next thing you know, I'm the last off the line. I managed to catch up by the first lap and grab the lead, and then I didn't really look back after that.
So what can the rest of your Pro team expect today from Stu Baylor and Lane Michael?
Well, I set the standard pretty high, so Stu's out there doing good now, so hopefully we can bring it home again.
There you go. Rachel Archer right there. She nailed it. Set the bar high, Rodney, for the Pro Yamaha pits.
Well, there you go. The bar is set kind of high. We are looking at one of her, I guess, temporary teammates, at least for the moment. Stu Baylor out front of this one. And, wow, what, I've been watching, and I stopped by and talked with Rachel this morning before the 10 o'clock race, and was just talking to her with the team and stuff, and just, basically talking about how great the women's class is. And, Johnny, we've talked about it a lot too. I can remember a time when we could barely get 4 or 5 girls in a women's class, period. And even when they were considered somewhat of a premier class in the morning races, if you had 4 or 5 girls, it seemed like we were doing pretty good. And then all of a sudden, now here we are. We've got women's classes in the afternoon. We got women's classes in the morning. I got that women's C class. I got the WXC, as we said. We've got in the ATV side of things, in the girls' classes and things like that. So it's really awesome to do. We just got an update. Sorry to shift gears on you like that, but we may have our defending champion, Caleb Russell, down and possibly injured in the John Penton section is what the reports that we are getting. I'm not real sure. There is Stu Baylor at the 4-mile marker as he makes his way through now. It should be within 10 seconds or so that we would see Caleb Russell coming through, but as we said, we just got reports that he's down. They say injured. They're not saying how severe or how bad or if it I'm not sure. I'm just giving you the report that I had. Hopefully everything's going to be all right with him. But that right there, Johnny, wow. I mean, that might have been the only rider that might have something for Stu Baylor on a mano-a-mano basis here today in Ohio.
Yeah, here we see Ben Kelly looking like he's lost a little ground to Stu. You know, we'll keep our fingers crossed that you know, maybe Caleb just took a little stinger and we'll be able to get up and continue, or at the very least, you know, get himself back to the KTM, FMF KTM factory semi under his own power, and I'm sure they'll evaluate things and see if he needs to head back out onto the track or if he needs some further evaluation at that point. But at the 4 mile marker, Stu Baylor leading the way. We obviously are. Our screen here shows Caleb Russell in second. We know that is not the case. We know it is now Ben Kelly. Those are the only 2 riders that have come through at the 4 mile marker. So we'll wait and we'll watch here, and obviously we'll keep you guys updated as we hear things. Looks like there is Lane Michael coming by now at the 4 mile marker. Don't know, we may have missed some riders in between there. There is Andrew DeLong. We had a few.
Yeah, I think we missed Grant Baylor. I think we missed Jordan Ashburn also, I believe, in that. So basically, we're looking at the same running order as what we were, minus Caleb at this point.
Yep. So here's and here is Mike Witkowski. So Johnny Girard did come through. They're telling us still your leader in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Mike Witkowski still in third. Or in second. Cody Barnes should be coming here soon on his factory beta machine. There he is there. There is Liam Draper. So Draper now up to the rear wheel of Barnes, and not sure who that was.
I think that was Craig DeLong.
It almost did look like Craig DeLong there. So the 342 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna looking like maybe he's getting rolling and possibly closing up. And that is Lyndon Snodgrass on the number 178. So that's a rider that we had some big expectations for coming into the season, and this is the first time we've really seen him kind of up in the mix there for a top 5, looking like he might be sitting in that 6th place, I believe, is where he would be sitting. There's Ryder Lafferty, a rider who won his first ever overall at the National Enduro last weekend. So a big win for him, and you know, he's a rider we expect to see in a top 5 or even a podium position here at GNCC within that XC2 Pro Lights class. So we'll see if he's able to work his way up and catch that group in front of him, which is the 3rd through 6th battle that's kind of going on right now.
Yeah, Jonathan Girard in the number 1 spot. He had an almost 19-second lead over Witkowski whenever they wrapped up that first lap. There's the 328 machine of Jesse Ansley checking in. He's 9th place in the XC2 250 Pro class, but Witkowski second. He was 18 seconds back. Barnes was another 7.8. That gap starting to open up. However, the 9-10 seconds that separated Cody Barnes and Liam Draper has tightened up quite a bit. So Draper has moved into a challenging position for 3rd place in this XT2 250 Pro class. Getting more word on Caleb Russell. He is able to ride back to the semi under his own power, is what we're being told. So we're getting that. Hopefully we'll be able to get a word or some words about what maybe took place out there. I know probably a little touchy situation at this particular moment in time, but good to know that Caleb is up and rolling under his own power. He is heading back to the pits himself, but it sounds like he's likely not going to be finishing the race today.
You know, I think the important thing there for him and the team right now is obviously do what's best for him in the long run. If he's able to ride back to the truck under his own power, obviously good news for the looming championship. Caleb has a pretty massive points lead at this point in that overall championship. So obviously today, you know, you don't necessarily want to give up 30 points for a win, but Stu Baylor is well, you know, he's several hundred points behind Caleb at this point. So he's not in the mix for a championship. Also Ben Kelly, having missed several rounds, not in the hunt for a championship. So if you're going to have to give up some points to your championship rivals, you want the guys that are up there in the points to be further back, which is exactly kind of what's happening today. So we'll see how it all pans out. Here we see now, look at this. Ashburn has gotten right up to the rear wheel of Grant Baylor, and there is Lane Michael. So those guys are just wheel to wheel. And is that Johnny Girard who is now caught Lane Michael? It is. Johnny Girard, there's your XC2 leader, the 969 Trail Jesters KTM, physically within sight of the 3rd place overall rider, and there is Andrew DeLong. So here's one thing that we'll point out, guys. With Johnny Girard now being able to physically see 3rd overall, that changes the whole game for him. Last race, 2 weeks ago, he was battling for that third overall position. two problems with that. Number one, he was battling with Caleb Russell, which obviously is going to be tough on any level. But he never actually physically got to the point where he could see Caleb. He was just chasing a ghost. Pipboard, times, that's all he had. He never physically could see him. Look at this. Look at this battle in the XC2 class. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And there, we were right there, Ryan. That is the 342 of Craig DeLong on the Rockstar Energy Racing Husqvarna. Liam Draper now has worked his way into that 3rd place. He's gotten around the factory bait of Cody Barnes, and it looks like Craig DeLong back there is looking really racy. There he is, Lyndon Snodgrass, a rider out of Australia. He's been a part of that trophy team and junior trophy team that has won many gold medals and overall titles at the ISDE International 6 Days Enduro. Here we see Ryder Lafferty trying to close that gap up. So it looks like Snodgrass now in that 6th place spot and Lafferty in 7th. Stu Baylor just absolutely rolling. Look at him. He's just hitting all of his marks, hopping up there. He looks like he's on a bicycle out there on a pump track right now.
What the new word this year is butter. He's riding like he's smooth as butter today. I mean, it really. I mean, I've seen people mesh with machines and you know, but when you take a person that has ridden basically one brand of motorcycle their entire life and they can switch off the way that Stu Baylor has done here in the 2020 season. This is his at least 3rd, maybe 4th bike brand that he has ridden in this 2020 season, and he has been successful on every one that he's thrown his leg over. And you know, you can't tell that by looking at the championship points races, the championship points. You can't necessarily maybe even tell that by looking at results, because he kind of gets lost in the thing with being missing a few races here and there. But when you look at the big picture, when you get down and you start deciphering it, wow, what a season for Stu Baylor this year. I mean, it's not a championship year, but man, talk about the memories that are being made and the name that he is making for himself right now.
Yeah, potentially relationship building for the future, because you know, if you're Yamaha, obviously Stu Baylor riding really well and you want to have him on your bike, but if you're Stu Baylor, you got to ask yourself, you rode a lot of brands this year, but you've only won on one.
Right.
And he's in position again to do it again today. And, you know, obviously Ben Kelly right there. We can't start handing out overall wins.
No.
You know, an hour and 16 minutes into this thing.
No.
Ben Kelly's still right there. A lot of riders still capable. But if Stu Baylor's able to bring this one home and get another win, you got to ask yourself, if you're Stu Baylor, do you really want to ride anything else besides a Yamaha?
Right. I mean, and again, you know, I mean, but Stu, he's got an ability to be able to adapt, and you know, that's one thing that we noticed whenever, anytime that his machine would have issues and problems, he's able to adapt his riding style to fit and to correct most of whatever issues that are bothering him, and that's a skill that a lot of folks don't necessarily have.
Well, Rodney, you remember we talked about this just 2 weeks ago. You know, a lot of guys can ride any bike the exact same speed. And any bike that's not even set up properly, they can run the exact same speed. And Stu has kind of been known as one of those riders that can kind of ride anything. Like you said, he just kind of bulldogs it. But I got to tell you, I mean, you know, there's definitely times where you can see Stu just looks more fluid and looks like he's using less energy.
Yeah.
And the last couple races have kind of been like that. And even in listening to his interviews there, look at that, Johnny Gerard there still can see all 3 of those guys in front of him there. Grant Baylor, there's Lane Michael directly in front of him, and also, oh, look here, Andrew DeLong now is kind of tagged on. He's a little closer than he was.
Yeah.
So that is a heck of a battle right now going on for those top 5 overall positions and top 3 overall even. Witkowski still not too far behind Gerard, though. It doesn't look like he's willing to concede this one yet. He's still giving it everything he's got, trying to close that gap and trying to chase after that. Not only that XC2 win, but very much in the thick of the XC2 championship battle as well.
Looking at this section of the racetrack as Draper drops down, and also Cody Barnes now right behind him in that XC2 class, and there is Craig DeLong. Johnny, looking at this section of the racetrack, this rock section here, creek bed section, almost looks kind of, well, deja vu-ish from what we saw 2 weeks ago. This is a lot like what West Virginia's entire trail was, as opposed to just a small section here at John Penn.
Yeah, I agree. The major difference, though, here in that particular section is it's very hard to see on camera, but that rock right there, those guys are riding over it. Oh, do we have, oh, I thought potentially, looks like we got our mobile medical unit coming back, but they are empty, so it looks like Caleb Russell did get back to the pits under his own power.
Speaking of the mobile medical unit, do want to say thanks to our friends at the Kurt Caselli Foundation for providing the mobile medical mule. It's a tool that is used to be able to get into some of the deeper places in the woods. It's equipped with a lot of great medical equipment and things to help the first responders out there on the trail and things, and that is provided by the Kurt Caselli Foundation, and we certainly certainly appreciate that. We hate that we ever have to use it, but sometimes it is used, and it is very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you need it, you absolutely do need it. So great to have that out there in the toolbox. But what I was saying, Rodney, this creek section here, and actually there's a rock slab going the other direction that we saw those guys on just a few minutes ago, just there about the 6-mile marker. Up here we see Caleb Russell is back in the FMF KTM pits. Looks like he is in some pain here.
Looks like it's his left leg or knee, maybe.
I don't want to do too much speculating, but he is pretty bummed up right now, it seems. And you may be right, Ryan. It does look like the left side of his body the way he's hobbling right now.
Yeah, it looks like they're...
he's in a lot of pain. Oh, my.
We'll give him some time to get settled, and if he's feeling up to it, maybe we'll get an interview. But for right now, we'll let him get settled, let him get things situated, and figure out where things stand as far as what he's got going on there.
Yeah, I know. You know, when we were here a few months ago, it seems like only a month ago that we were here, to be honest with you. But when we were here a few months ago, just before the summer break, you know, Caleb having the opportunity, we thought this was going to be the last time. And, you know, the spectacular ride he had that day, being able to win here at the John Pitton GNCC and on his home turf, literally. You know, this is certainly a different side of the coin that we're seeing out here in the 2.0 version and at Burr Oaks GNCC. But the important thing is Caleb rode out of there under his own power. He got off the bike under his own power. Obviously, he's a little banged up and in some pain and suffering some right now, but there is a lot of good mixed in with that little bit of bad that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, you know, for I'm sure all of the thoughts going through his mind right now, you know, championship and all that. Again, he has a pretty solid points lead even after today. The rider who had been second in points, Josh Strang, obviously missing our first round back from break after an injury, and there he is on screen, on cue, the 114, the freight train, Josh Strang, back in action today. Not quite up to full speed, obviously, as we can see, but riding himself back into race speed and race shape. I didn't actually have an opportunity to speak with him before the race, so I don't kind of know what his thoughts were.
He came in, his mindset on this, and I talked to him on Friday, and I talked to him again this morning. He's in great spirits, very good mood. I mean, he is Josh Strang of old, the one that we know, the confident Josh Strang. However, what he is basically was saying that, you know, with the injury and everything, he says it's still a little tender and it's still a little sore. He was just released to ride. He just wanted to go out and feel it out. He said he'd rather go out, do that today, get a little time under himself and know where he's at than wait 2 weeks from now and come out and try it again in 2 weeks and realize that, you know, maybe he's not where he needs to be or needs to work on this or work on that to help rectify the situation. So I get, I mean, he's not looking for results today. He's just looking to figure things out as far as himself physically. Also, you know, we've heard rumors and talked, and if you look at results and watch the social media, Thad Duvall has been back to racing recently on the local level. He did a father-son race, I think, last weekend, did another race, and had some pretty great results on the local level. But I went up to the Husqvarna pits this morning, and I was wondering, I thought, well, you know, there's a good chance that we might see Thad make his return back here this weekend. The guys told me, nope, Thad's not racing this weekend, but we should expect to see Thad back under the Rockstar Husqvarna pits in 2 weeks.
There you go. That'll be exciting for the fans. Thad's been basically out, you know, this whole season, so it's unfortunate. Stu Baylor, a rider that was out early in the season, man, this XC1 bike class has just been pillaged by injuries this year, but he's back, and he's back, and he is pinned, baby. He is out front, and he's got a little lead. He takes a look over to see where Ben Kelly's at. Ben Kelly is coming and coming hard. He was only one turn behind him there. We had seen Stu stretch it out, and here's the other thing. When we saw that gap open up, it was about 25 seconds when we saw him out there at the 4-mile marker. I don't have any way of knowing this, but I'd be willing to bet you money that Ben stopped to check on Caleb. That's probably where at least a portion of that gap came from.
Yeah, and I would say that Stu's probably got the pit board that Caleb's out, so he's probably relaxing a little bit, not pushing himself as hard, but on second thought, maybe he better. And seeing Kelly there, that is going to, I think, rise the level a little bit there of intensity that Stu is riding at right now. And Ben Kelly checking in, 12.5 seconds back in the number 2 spot. We are looking physically next on the racetrack for, let's see, that was Caleb. Actually, yeah, Grant Baylor would be our next physical rider on the racetrack, I think.
we'll see if that be the case or not.
He's on his way coming up to the finish line right now as we see Stu in the VP Fuels Pro row, getting some fresh goggles there, getting some fuel, and fueling up that YZ450. And look at this. Oh, Ben Kelly coming up outside. I thought we were going to have a little contact there. So Ben Kelly momentarily takes the lead, but we're going to see right now if Ben Kelly is stopping in the VP Fuels Pro row. He is. Yep, he's getting some fuel there. So he's going to stop, and Stu Baylor is going to be back out and into the lead. So we're going to see that lead probably back in that 10 to 12 second range like it was. But, Rodney, one thing you were pointing out there, and it was on your observation once he got the pit board, if he did, that Caleb is out. Stu may change his strategy a little bit, because if you remember, he said, man, I learned something from some guy named Caleb. I wasn't out there trying to race. I was out there just trying to beat the other guys.
Right.
He said, and basically you race different depending on who you're racing against. But, he also knows Stu is a smart guy. He plays up the good old boy from South Carolina, but he has a racing IQ that is very high, and he absolutely, without a question of a doubt, knows that you do not sleep on Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly is serious.
Right now, Jonathan Gerard has a 20-second overall adjusted lead in third place over Grant Baylor. Baylor is physically third on the racetrack. He is 49 seconds behind Ben Kelly there and Stu Baylor in that battle going on there. But Jonathan Gerard, as we said, is 20 seconds faster than Grant Baylor right now, and more action there in the pits, it looks like, guys.
Yeah, Johnny Gerard coming through. He did check in there. He made his way around Jordan Ashburn, who stopped for fuel, but we will assume that Jordan Ashburn also had to Johnny Gerard also had to stop for fuel. Here we see again Stu Baylor out on our Yamaha Racing Skycam. This is a section across the road, what we used to refer to as the mulch pile side of the road, but this year we're not running the mulch pile. So these are just some chicanes here. Really fun section of track. I tell you what, it's hard to tell from the speed that this drone's going, but these guys are absolutely flying. This is fourth and fifth gear, just rolling across these fields, and they are wringing every ounce of horsepower and every mile an hour they can get out there trying to stretch that lead. And, Ben Kelly going to be doing the same on his 450 KTM, trying to close up to the back of the Ampro Yamaha of Stu Baylor.
Johnny, I know when we were here earlier in the summer, it was kind of midsummer, and there was a lot of undergrowth, and at least for that time of year, I know there's not a lot of undergrowth here at the Sunday Creek Raceway. But was the woods a little more open yesterday, presenting the opportunity for more lines to open up than what we see in the earlier in the spring?
100%, Rodney. You hit the nail on the head. Early in the spring, well, actually, normally early in the spring when we're here, because we've been here in May, it's fairly open. You're starting to get that stuff budding. But when we were here in I guess it would have been late June, look at this. We're joined by Ricky Russell. Ricky Russell, we see if we can get him to hop in the booth here with us for a few minutes, if we can peel him away from his duties at spotter at Coastal Racing. Ricky, the last time we saw him at a GNCC, he was here, and he was actually battling for a win with Caleb Russell on the last lap, or second to last lap of our Georgia GNCC. Georgia won, that would have been back the second week of March, and here he is back now. He's been off on the West Coast in Washington, and Ricky back here with us today. How's it feel to be back GNCC racing, and tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in the last couple months?
This is on?
Yep, you're on.
No, it's good. I'm getting sick of sitting at home watching these things on TV, so I wanted to come hang out with the team and support as much as I can, and just be a part of it again. It kind of sucks.
So what's the word on you, buddy? You're pedaling around on a bicycle and everything now?
I've been at home pedaling away, and that's all I can do right now, and I gotta stay safe. I'm healthy, good. Just doctor's orders. Got to be on blood thinners for a standard 6 months from the injury.
Okay, so it's a standard thing that you gotta be on.
There's a stent in my body, and so that's a foreign object. So the biggest thing is that needs to your body has to get used to it.
Hey, I tell you what, sounds like we might have Caleb Russell with Mikey Waynes. Let's head on down to the pro pits. We'll finish this conversation in just a moment. Let's find out what's going on, Mikey.
Hey, thanks, Rodney. Yeah, down here, Caleb Russell, man, not exactly where you wanted to see us, not where we wanted to see you, man. What happened out there?
Yeah, pretty disappointing. I just got confused on my line choice in the John Pinton section, and we were on this little road bed, and I thought I had already committed to the outside line. I was actually on the inside, and I was going to drift out. And when I drifted out, there's a tree right in the center. It split the two lines, and I just wedged my knee up against that tree in my bike, and actually just smashed it in between there, knocked the wind out of myself, and I'm having a hard time. I've been in my knee. It feels like it's locking up pretty good. I can feel some fluid in there. So I laid there. I couldn't even get up. Josh Strang actually helped me up on my feet because I was laying right in the middle of the track. I couldn't stand up. So thanks to him, it was I was feeling pretty good. Just frustrating, you know. It's dirt bikes.
It's dirt bikes. Caleb Russell, you nailed it right there, man. We'll let you rest up, keep some ice on that. Take it back to you guys in the booth.
Wow, talk about disappointment. You could hear it in his voice. You could see it in his face, the disappointment that he has. And, you know, I hope the way that he stated that and the disappointment I seen, the disappointing look, that this isn't going to be something lingering and long-term for him. But, you know, the way he presents that, I'm afraid at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt. He was probably bummed after getting third, even though most people would be excited to get third. He comes back out here, gunning to kind of take Stu off his high horse, but looking at it, they were going at it again, and now for him to get injured, I'm sure he's not we'll see how bad it is, but for him to pull off, it's probably not the best.
Yeah, and you know, that really does just go to show the high level of racing. Ricky, kind of bringing things full circle back to what we were talking about just about 4.5 months ago. We were racing, or a little longer than that actually, we were racing down in Georgia. You and Caleb actually came together towards the end of a GNCC. You had an injury, but we were just talking off camera here. So you're looking to be back on the bike here maybe in a little over a month. And what's the plan? Are you back with Coastal Racing for 2021? Do you have, I don't know if you had a 2-year deal or 1 year.
I had a 1-year deal, and we're working on it. That team has been great. They've been so supportive through this whole situation. So that's what I'm really hoping for, just for everything to work out.
The plan is to be back 2021 GNCC.
Yeah,
racing.
100%. I'm going to be racing one way or another, and hopefully it's on that team. And yeah.
How excited are you with the new change? I just seen that they got the.
Yeah, no, they're got the factory gas deal going on, and that's really cool. So I'm just hoping I can be a part of it.
I know I've talked to a lot of people. Surprisingly, you know, for as little as there is known about the gas, there's a lot of people that really like the gas.
Yeah, no doubt. They're coming in with a new model, new everything next year, and should be a great bike, just as Huskies are and all the European bikes. So I'm excited. I'm excited just to get on the back on the bike. I've gone trail riding a couple times with the old man, but yeah, like I was saying before, I can't get hurt. I'm on blood thinners, so blood thinners standard 6 months, and then hopefully we can go from there hard. So,
well, Ricky, we got a little bit of a lull here as we wait at the 2-mile marker. We have seen our top riders of both the XC1 and XC2 class come by. There we see Jesse Ansley. Last we knew he was running around 9th in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Tell us a little bit about, you know, obviously you're a guy who's kind of been a journeyman. You came here in a van back in 2012, I believe it was end of 2012, coming into the 2013 season. You had loaded up a couple dirt bikes. You got out here, had some dirt bike issues, ended up buying a bike off of Paul Whibley to race that season. You know, and that kind of started your GNCC journey. Fast forward now, basically 8 years later in 2020, what's it like to have made that journey, and what perspective do you have kind of sitting at home, you know, getting to watch all this from afar? How does that change your perspective on the journey you've been on in the last 8 years?
Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy life. It was my lifetime goal, is to go and be a factory racer, and so it's kind of right now, it kind of relates to before I came over here. I've been watching on TV, and right now I'm just jonesing because I know what it's all about. Before I was jonesing because I didn't know what it was all about, because I just wanted to come experience it. So now I'm back here, and I don't know, it's been a huge lifelong goal to do what I've done even, and I've set goals and I've reached them, and now I keep setting higher goals, and I just keep trying to get to the top. And we have races here and there where we're very close, and when I got hurt, we were very close.
Yeah.
Battling with them.
And you've gotten your win. You know, you checked that one off the box.
I want more than one. And there's been a few times where it's been like I felt like I had it, and actually, it seems like it's always Caleb sneaks it away from me right at the end.
Maybe Black Sky last year that comes to mind.
I keep getting memories.
Ricky just about was celebrating with that one.
Yeah.
And then
coming into the finish, I stuffed one corner, and Caleb snuck by. So, yeah, it's just I'm gonna keep setting goals and keep getting after it.
Rodney, you and I talk about this so much, the path to stardom in GNCC. There seems to be two kind of established paths to the top of on the bike side of things in XC1 and GNCC. You either come up through the youth ranks, Charlie Mullins, Caleb Russell, or you come from overseas. Josh Strang, obviously Paul Whibley. That's kind of the known established path. Ricky was the first, in my opinion, of the riders who kind of came from
the
elsewhere.
United States,
yeah. But wasn't a GNCC guy, wasn't even really an East Coast Woods guy, and came from elsewhere. You've kind of got a little bit of it in Josh Toth and Ben Kelly as well, although they are East Coast guys. They didn't grow up doing GNCCs. They kind of started in that XC2 class and then kind of rode their way up. So they did somewhat come up through the ranks to XC1, but Ricky, you had your own path, and it was how much I guess, to toot our own horn here at RacerTV, but how much do you think that what we're watching on screen right now, people around the United States, people around the world, there's a kid somewhere right now that has a little PW50 or a KTM E50 that's watching this, and he's telling his parents, I want to go do that someday. How cool is it that you were able to see it in the magazines, social media, etc., and be able to chase your dreams, and how does that set for you looking forward to seeing young guys coming up?
The way I see it, and I've always gone is you only live once, so if you're going to do it, get after it and just do it. I mean, you don't want to have regrets saying, oh, I wish I would have done this, wish I would have done that. So my biggest regret is I wish I would have done it earlier. I was over the age of 20, where everyone's into it a lot earlier than that, and I came over here, I think I was 21 or 22, and started doing it, but everyone already had a head start on me, so I was trying to catch up from there. So biggest thing is to get after it and commit and just do it. I mean, you're never gonna, like I said, you only live once. Don't want to look back and say what if, especially if you feel like you could be potentially get up to the high ranks, and that's where I was, and I have made it to the high ranks. Now I'm just setting goals higher and higher and trying to be the best.
Exactly, and that leads me to my next question. Knowing where you were with your speed, with your talent, with everything that was going on whenever the incident occurred that took you out of the season, does that give you hopes? I mean, obviously not this year, spring championships, maybe if you get lucky and get in the right position to win it or two in the last couple rounds, but does that give you hopes? Does that give you incentive? Does that give you drive right now for the championship next year?
No doubt. Everyone knows Caleb's taking him step out, and so everyone's going to be going for it. But I felt like we were coming in with high momentum on the new team, and just everything was clicking, and we had consistent podiums. So, and the last race when I did get hurt, I felt like I had that one. So before it happened, last lap, intense battle with Caleb, and kind of fell apart for me. But yeah, just being there, knowing my speed and that confidence, I feel like there's going to be a lot of guys coming back, and everyone's going to be 100% going for that.
Yeah.
It's kind of an open thing with Caleb.
Yeah.
6-time, what is he going, 7-time now? Yeah, 7-time champion, and so with him stepping out, now everyone's going to be going for it. But I'm as motivated and as hungry as everyone else.
That's good to know, man. Next year is going to be a free-for-all. There's no doubt about that. Well, Ricky, I tell you, man, really appreciate you taking the time to stop by. I know you probably want to, if you want to sit here, you're more than welcome, but I know you got some other duties.
I'm going to get back into the woods and try to point some lines, but yeah, I figured I'd swing on by.
All right, we certainly appreciate it. Glad to have you out. Glad to know that we're going to get a chance to see you, hopefully very soon, back into the racing action, talking about Coastal Racing's Ricky Russell, and he's here in booth with us, looking to get back on that track soon. Speaking of on the track, Stu Baylor right now currently leading this one. Ben Kelly back in the number 2 spot, and Jonathan Garrar is in that number 3 position on adjusted time, nearly physically when you look at the big picture as well. And Kelly closing in on Baylor. Will he make that challenge? Will he push Baylor into a mistake, or will Baylor turn on the afterburner? Stick around to find out. GNCC Racing continues right after this.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Chematic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Chematic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Chematic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Chematic. Chematic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lead, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
We are American motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
Okay, so we're here with Lane Whitmer. Like I said on the Coastal Racing, so we're going to ask him what he has to say and what he likes and what he doesn't like. So did you ride or walk the track?
Yeah, I biked it a few times yesterday and once on Friday.
What's your overall thoughts?
Looks pretty good. It's a lot more moist than I was expecting, so I'm happy about that.
All right, so how do you think you're going to do here?
Hoping to get a win, but we'll see what happens.
How'd you do last time here this year?
I battled for the lead till right before the 2-lap card. I got tangled with the lapper and lost a bunch of time.
I mean, that should give you some confidence and some courage, though.
Yep, for sure.
But all right then, so good luck, be safe, and have some fun.
All right, thank you.
You did say you were hoping for a win, but will top 3 give it to you?
I'm pretty happy with the top 3. A win's just, it's pretty highly expecting, so it's got to be about a perfect ride for me to get a win, but I'm pretty happy for the podium.
So what happened to you?
I got the whole shot. Grant passed me in the second turn, and me, him, and Jack were all on a path the first 2 laps. But I ended up tipping over at a creek jump, so I lost a little bit of time. And then Jack was pulling like 10, 15 seconds a lap, so I just was losing time. And I guess Grant got tangled up, but then he got around me and pulled a little bit at the end.
But overall, how was your race, really?
Felt good, rode good. Just need to work on a few things and limit my mistakes.
Well, that's good. Who do you want to thank?
Coastal, all the team sponsors, my parents, GNCC for putting on great tracks, and everyone else.
Alrighty, welcome back to Millfield, Ohio, and the Yamaha Burr Oaks GNCC here on GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin along with our own GNCC Fast Brett, Ryan Amonte, also Johnny Gallagher, the original Johnny G and GNCCs, and of course joined in booth now by Steve Hatch as we pick up on the action. There's Lane Michael making his way by the camera here at the 4-mile marker. Still appears that Stu Baylor out front on this one with Ben Kelly. Definitely closing up that gap, and you see how far. Look at that, 282. Yeah, Mike Witkowski is right on the rear wheel of Johnny Gerard. And Steve, I tell you, man, we've seen a lot of cool and interesting things already taking place here today. But
along third.
Wow,
caught up.
Yeah, those top 3 in that XC2 class are getting a lot tighter. I was thinking we were going to see Johnny Gerard just really check out, and those guys are going to have a tough time. But everybody seems to be on a pretty good pace today.
Yeah, you're right, Rodney. I think one of the things that's tricky, I was just out there running around watching, and I know Johnny got up, I think, behind Lane Michael and a few of them right out of the first lap, and couldn't go any farther because of the silt and dust. So I think it's going to be one of those things that I was telling all the guys this morning. You know, lappers are a big deal in this, and the silt's really tough. So once you get stuck behind people, not the fast guys right now, but as it gets later in the race, that's going to be a big deal. Trying to get by the riders that are really fast, and that silt is tough. Sometimes you can't even make up 2 or 3 seconds, and you might hit some, ruts or stuff wrong that make you go backwards.
Well, I'll tell you what, 2002, there is Stu Baylor there at the 6-mile marker heading into the Monster Energy Mile as we look back to see exactly how far that second place position is. As we said, it looked like he had closed up the gap a little bit after that pit stop. Right there. Ben Kelly is right there, but he's still looking at about a 15-second or so deficit, 12 seconds or so back to Kelly, between Kelly and Baylor now in first and second. Now, Burr Oaks brings back a whole lot, and in the early 2000s, we went from Burr Oaks to the John Penton GNCC, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the first year that we ran as the John Penton GNCC. We came down here and in 02, and it was one of the dustiest races that I can remember. And if I remember, I think that you might have sucked a bunch of dust up in your machine and choked it out. It was either you or Rodney had a really good ride going on that day and just buried it into one of those silt berms that you were talking about and immediately choked the bike out.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Rodney. I was thinking that the other day or yesterday looking around. It doesn't look quite as bad as that day for sure, but yeah, that was gnarly, I remember, and I think I was leading, and then, hit too many berms, having too much fun.
Yep.
And plugged it up. We have to change an air filter. I still got second. I always second or third here, but never won this race. So it's definitely tricky. It's either, as you know, really muddy and slick and deep ruts, or it's silky, so it's one or the other.
There's rarely ever the perfect race. I mean, I think we came about as close to perfect earlier this year as far as John Penton is concerned. As we watch the 3:14 now of Grant Baylor, that is your third place ride in the XC1 Pro class overall. On time adjustment, he was 20 seconds behind Jonathan Garrar there, and there is the 127 now, Jordan Ashburn, who's running about 10-15 seconds back off the pace in that fourth place position. We should be seeing Lane Michael checking in next in the fifth place position physically on the racetrack, and then we should start seeing, I think, that first, second, third place battle in the XC2 class. Here comes Lane Michael as we anticipated on the 523 Ampro Yamaha now.
Lane Michael's having pretty oh, there's Andrew DeLong.
And wow, DeLong has really picked it up now. He's up to that sixth place position, and he's whoa,
Johnny
getting crazy.
Yeah, Johnny is right there physically right behind, and he just made the pass on Andrew DeLong right here at the Monster Energy Mile. So Jonathan Garrar has now physically gone into the sixth place position, and now that gap is opening up between Jonathan and the 282 of Wachowski, but still tight back there between second and third. Craig DeLong really close on that second place position right now.
But as we can see, the gap has opened up a lot between Johnny and Mike Wachowski. I wonder if Mike Wachowski made a mistake or is trying to go for the pass, or I wonder what happened.
I'm having to think the way it's looking to me that Jonathan might have picked up his pace just a little bit. I think so too. Now, Steve Hatch, you come out of the New England area up around New York and different places. You're familiar, I'm sure, with a lot of these different riders that come out of here and with your training schools and things. How are things going, and are you working with any of these guys, or have you ever worked with any of these guys that we're watching out front right now?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, good comments on there, Ryan. And yeah, Rodney, I'm working with Johnny Garrar this year, so he's had a good year and doing well, and a lot of the riders still work with the Trail Jesters and a bunch of them. So I've got about 12 riders that I train on big programs. So I know a lot of them from New England, Simon Johnson and Braden Ouellette and all those guys. And starting off with Ben Kelly and Josh Toth is how it all started. So those guys are just tough. You know, they have the best of all worlds. They're gnarly in the tough, technical, slick stuff. And, you know, the main thing that I'd usually work with all of them on is getting them more aggressive in the dry stuff, because they're so used to being smooth and precise. So once they get both of those, they can move mountains, as you can see. Once they get the adrenaline and the aggressiveness with that smooth style, they're amazing. And that's why I think you see a lot of them coming into this series and doing really well, and a lot of them obviously coming out of the J-Day where it's such a sprint speed and moto and everything, so it's the perfect storm.
Yeah, it is, and being able to put it together for 3 hours, that's the trick, and I think that's where they probably, you're the best tool for that, to be honest with you.
I don't know about that. I might be a tool, but I'm not sure if I'm the best tool. Now, yeah, I think one of the things that's is good is, you know, you're probably right, I guess. My career, I was probably overly aggressive, and I told myself on the handlebars, controlled aggression, where these guys, I'm trying to tell them to bump it up some.
Steve, as we watch, looks like Lane Michael on screen there, I got a question for you. So you work with Johnny Garrar, and obviously we've seen how far his fitness, his racecraft has come in the last couple of years since he's been working with you. After a race like last race, there he is on screen, as a matter of fact. After a race like the last race, where he said he kind of overran himself, potentially trying to chase that overall, what do you work on with his fitness? And not to give all away your secrets, but what do you work on both from a mechanics of his fitness standpoint and also how he approaches the race? Because I know you're big on the mental side of things. What do you tell a rider when they kind of, I don't want to say bonk because that's a bad term, but you could tell he had kind of overextended himself at the end of last race. What do you do there?
Yeah, great question, Johnny. I think it stems back to the preparation always, right? And we knew in his preparation he did the 3-day full gas, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, drove home. He's got a new place, down near Caleb. Worked on his house, built, his garage, worked on the driveway, didn't drink much water, and realized it's Friday already. So I think, as we know, all of us, that are racers here, I think it's really easy to, as long as you can look backwards and see if it makes sense on where we're at. And whoa, Lane Michael almost crashed it. Nice save. Yeah, that was a good save. So I think once you look backwards and you can really tell, there's Johnny there, what you made the mistake, and it's all about trying not to make it, do it again, obviously. So we're looking forward on the hydration this whole week, trying to be smart
So really in a situation like that, to still come out with a win, that's a win in a lot of ways, because you get the win, you get the points, but at the same time, that's a huge learning tool right there to say, like, hey man, just because you're doing the training and just because I've given you all the tools, if you don't implement those properly and execute that, and not pointing a finger at him, because we've all been there. Life gets the better of you sometimes, and you know, you get caught up in other things, like you said, the excitement of a new house and all that kind of stuff, but it's easy to remember, or it's easy to forget that it's the little things that make all the difference.
Yeah, good point, Johnny, and that's the thing, as we know, you and I have been around the block a few times. You know, you get that, I call it the secret formula for success. It's like building chocolate chip cookies. Once you get that recipe, you don't put in 5 eggs instead of 2 eggs, or whatever the deal is, you know. So same with the racer, and that, as you know, our careers were, longer than most, and you're still going, so you're amazing. But, once you get that recipe, some things stay the same, some change a little. So you have to adapt, not be quite too hard-headed. I think all of them, especially at this level, as we know, you got to be physically tough, mentally tough, and be able to be adaptable. So it's like that crazy blend of the perfect storm of a rider that can adjust as they go through their career.
Well, Steve, obviously your track record speaks volumes, not only with yourself and your career, but the riders you've worked with in recent years. We've seen leaps and bounds improvement out of so many of them, and I think I know you're not allowed to pick a favorite because you're like a father or a mother, but for us it seems your star pupil at the moment would probably be Johnny Girard, and how far he's come so quickly recently.
Yeah, I think he's, I think one of the tricks, as you guys know, he's always been fast. So I look at a rider and go, that's not the issue. It's actually controlled aggression, like it was for me. So the fast guys sometimes are, like I was, almost hard to get them down to that smooth level, and then it's all mental, like you said. And we have our new program, The Edge of the Elite, coming out this next week. If people want to go to it, powerofthemind.coach, and it starts on next Wednesday. We have 10 weeks of my wife and I who work on the mental side of what it takes to win and adaptability and all this stuff. So you're exactly right.
I might have to sign up for that and see if you can teach a really. We know you can teach an old dog new tricks, but how old is old?
Come on there. I know you know a lot of the tricks, but I'd love to have you.
Powerofthemind.com.
.coach.
.coach.
Yep.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's nice. So powerofthemind.coach. Check that out.
Yep. So
I want to try to join that.
All right, good. I'd love to have you on there. Right? Yeah, it's so much of it's mental. I say at the the C level, we're enjoying our dirt bikes. The B level, you realize, oh man, I need to get fit. This is a tough sport. The A level, everybody's pretty fast and pretty fit. You can always get better, but from the A to the AA to the national AA, it's all mental, 90% of it, because you can perform so good at your home track or your backyard track. When you get here, it's showtime. So most are actually flipped over, meaning our conscious thinking mind, which is our normal thinking mind, we can ride at home or wherever, and then when we get here, it comes down underneath, which is actually your subconscious. It's all your habitual things to perform at your highest level. So everybody doesn't get that. They're like, Steve, I'm the same as so-and-so at home who gets, first or fifth here, and I'm 25th here, what's the deal? So it's you gotta program it at the deeper levels is one of the tricks that we'll teach.
Very cool.
That's interesting, yeah.
Everybody at home has an opportunity to check that out, and you have access to the same tips and tricks that guys like Johnny Girard and so many before him have had. And Johnny, just to close out one more thing on Johnny, here's we're watching. Can't tell who that is. Is that Stu on screen?
I think so, yeah.
Regardless, Johnny Girard, a rider that a number of years ago we saw come out and actually lead and battle with Charlie Mullins and Caleb Russell at Unadilla so many years ago. This is a rider that back then had the raw speed, but it's taken years for him to perfect his craft at this level on these tracks, and now we're seeing it as he's running in a top 3 overall position.
Yeah, and to add to your point, that's exactly right, Johnny. I think what you said, what did you tweak this year? Most of it's been the mental side of controlled aggression and being smart. Like that one that you mentioned last couple of weeks ago, he was pinning it. He was going for the overall more than just the class win. And, we just need to win his class is the main thing. I mean, it's easy to get sucked in there. We're all racers. So you're like, oh, yeah, I can get on the podium for the overall. Let's go.
Speaking of pinning it, Stu Baylor, I'll tell you what, he looks like he is absolutely pinning it out there right now. He's probably going to take a look over here in a minute, see if he can get an eye on Ben Kelly. There he is. So Stu does not look like he's leaving anything on the table. He's pushing for every millisecond in every corner. He wants to keep that gap that he has on Ben Kelly.
Well, rolling in, they're almost exactly on time. A 35:48.8 lap time last time around for Stu Baylor. Ben Kelly actually turned to 35:45, which is about 3 seconds faster on lap number 2. We'll see how they stack up here at the end of lap number 3 checking in. Baylor turns a 35:42, which is about 6 seconds faster than
the lap before. Ben Kelly's 35.45 is turned into a 35.39, so he's picked up the pace quite a bit as well. The gap now down to 9.6 seconds between Stu Baylor and Ben Kelly. We saw it physically closer than that on the racetrack throughout this lap, but at the end of the laps, this seems to be where things are starting to settle in.
You know, and Rodney, that's one of those things that you really can't express to people at home enough. You know, you're watching this and you're getting to see these guys multiple times per lap, but there's so many times in between when we see them on camera where, you know, there may be times where these guys are literally wheel to wheel.
Right.
And I tell you what, I've been doing this a long time, and I've been watching these races and commentating on these races, you know, and in every asset and facet of this, and it still baffles me that 180 minutes, 3 hours of racing, and these guys, we're talking, you know, they're trying to gain 3 to 4 seconds in a lap. In 35 minutes of racing, they're trying to gain 3 or 4 seconds. Ben Kelly in the pits, he's getting topped off and getting some goggles there, Rodney.
That's 2 laps in a row, correct?
You know what that means?
He's looking for the stretch is what he's looking for.
That was the pit that it was going to take for him to go to the finish. You know, the question is, does Stu Baylor have enough? So Ben Kelly basically going to do 2 laps, 1 lap, and then he's going to do another 2-lap sprint to the finish to try and make it without having to fuel again. Stu Baylor, they're playing this strategy game there. Stu Baylor, hypothetically, you would imagine with the fuel mileage he typically gets, no matter how good a mileage they think they're getting today, he's going to need another stop today, because otherwise he's going to have to go 3 laps on the tank on that YZ450. And, you know, AmPro may decide to make a go for it, but Ben Kelly's going to try to close up that gap, get to the rear wheel of Stu, and potentially make that pass in the pits if Stu does have to pit next lap.
1 minute, 23 seconds separating second and third place position. Grant Baylor back in that number 3 position as he just checked in a moment ago. That's physically on the racetrack. Jordan Ashburn another 26 seconds back in the 4th place position. And Johnny G coming around now to check in for his 3rd lap complete. We'll see if he's still able to maintain a top 3 position in the overall adjusted time as he finds his way through the final chicanes and works his way past the 2-lap board here at Sunday Creek Raceway. And of course this Yamaha Burr GNCC, and on adjusted time Johnny Garrar has now dropped to 4th place overall. The difference there now 7 seconds to the favor of Grant Baylor. So Baylor made up 27 seconds on that adjusted time thing there with Jonathan Garrar there. Lap times 36:13, 36:39. I think that I think that Johnny G might have slowed down a little bit on that lap time, which kind of aided and assisted in that as well as Grant picking up the pace just a bit.
Yeah, and if we go back just a few laps, remember, he was actually physically able to see Grant at one point. He wasn't exactly to his rear wheel, but there was some of those longer sections of track where they were on the same straightaway. So Grant has, I believe, as you said, really picked up the pace, and Johnny possibly realizing, again, as Steve pointed out, you know, you have to manage your effort. You know what you have in the tank. You don't want to overexert yourself. You saw him in those finish line chicanes, continually taking a look to his right there, trying to keep an eye on to see where Mike Witkowski, where Craig DeLong are at, because those are the guys that he's actually racing for this XC2 title and for the race win today. The overall's nice, but what he's here for, his job, is to win that XC2 race and put himself in a good position to ultimately win that title this year.
Mike Witkowski is now checked in, as we note, and he is top 5 overall. He's actually 5th place overall, 2nd place in the XC2 250 class, and 13.2 seconds behind the 969 machine. Craig DeLong is 3rd in class. He is actually 7th overall on adjusted time, another 13.7 behind Mike Witkowski. Jordan Ashburn, who is 4th in the XC1 Pro class, is currently sitting 6th overall after time adjustment.
I think to add in to Johnny's point, you know, we've all done that back-to-back gas. That's a really big one. Like we always used to say, the easiest pass is when they're in the pits.
Right.
And, you know, especially a day like today where it's dusty, you have to use a different strategy. Really tough to get anywhere close to these fast guys if you're the same speed.
Yeah, I had some struggles yesterday early in the race. It created a mechanical issue myself with the bike. Hit something and damaged the front end pretty badly, and was kind of riding a wounded soldier throughout the day. And as we got later in the race, I was able to figure out how to ride it and catch up to some guys that had really got me earlier in the race. And man, it was just so dusty. Much worse, I think, on an ATV than it is on a bike. But still, these guys, same situation. Like, this track is relatively difficult to pass on for as many lines as there are. And you know, like you said, easiest passes in the pit. So I was just trying to get close to guys in case they splashed. I was able to pick up a couple spots spots this way. Stu Baylor now, we're going to see what that gap is. He kind of went around that corner there at 05 as he went past that moose banner. So 49.05, looks like we're at about 7 seconds right now. 8, 9, 10. We're going to see what that gap is. I believe, Rodney, you said it was 9 seconds when they came into scoring. Ben Kelly did pit, so we're up over 15 now. It looks like we're at about
24 seconds is what I have it calculated at. 23, 24 seconds.
So 23 seconds. So that gap has opened up, but again, Ben Kelly did pit, so we'll see if he's able to chip away. We're going to assume that Stu either next lap or on the last lap is going to have to fuel. That's probably going to give about 10 seconds to that gap back. But man, you know, a lot of what we're seeing is really just kind of a mirror image of what we saw just 2 weeks ago with Ben Kelly and Stu Baylor out front, kind of leading the way and really in a race of their own.
Yeah, they are. They are exactly that. The only thing different is obviously the conditions as far as the course itself. But, you know, it's kind of interesting to see that these guys in two diverse types of terrain are still the elite riders on days like, and they're doing, like you said, almost the same thing that we saw them doing 2 weeks ago.
If you think about that, Rodney, this is kind of the same thing that we were seeing at the end of last season with Stu and Ben kind of going head-to-head when Caleb and Thad made their early departure from the season once the championship was settled. You know, so I think these two guys are the guys that are like, hey, you know, obviously we know Thad is coming back, as you pointed out. I believe Rockstar Husqvarna is saying next race. But it's kind of like when the cat's away, the mice will play kind of a thing. When Duvall and Russell were out of the picture, these were the two guys that were constantly battling for the wins. Grant Baylor there has worked his way back into that third overall position. He's always been third physically on the track, well, since the departure of Caleb Russell, but he's actually now back into third, even with corrected time. He has opened up about a 7-second gap over Johnny Girard, so still Johnny Girard much in the mix for this overall podium. But yeah, so Ben Kelly, Stu Baylor, and these guys actually do ride together occasionally off the track as well. Last year Ben actually spent some time at Stu's facility there. Here's another rider, Jordan Ashburn, 4th place in XC1, and I believe you said 6th place overall is where he's sitting on corrected time. But Jordan could really use a good ride today. And I don't know, I stepped out of the booth obviously for a couple minutes there, Rodney. I don't know if we talked about it, but we did get an update from Caleb on screen there saying that Josh Strang was actually the rider that picked him up. Folks, if you want to know what GNCC Racing's all about, it's pretty simple. These guys are battling for a championship. Yes, Josh Strang is now 63 points behind in that championship battle due to missing around at our last round in West Virginia. But knowing that he had an opportunity to make up some points, even if it was just a few on Caleb today, when he saw him laying on the ground, he didn't run him over, he didn't take a shot at him, he stopped, got off his bike, helped him get up and get out of the trail. That's true sportsmanship, and that's what GNCC is all about.
Well, 1 hour and 52 minutes into this race now. Stu Baylor continues to lead. Ben Kelly and Grant Baylor second and third. And, of course, we've got a host of riders coming with a head full of steam. How's this one all going to pan out? Stick around to find out. The Burr Oak GNCC and GNCC Live continues after this.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lieb, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
We are American motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young, and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
And welcome back to GNCC Live from Millfield, Ohio. As, of course, it's time to take a look at our amateurs today. The meat of what the GNCC Racing Nation is, of course, my friends. And as we take a look at some of the top classes out here, taking a look at that senior A40+ class, Smiling Frank Messina leading this one out of Campbell Hall, New York, with Shotgun Sean Remington in the number 2 spot. Those guys literally going at it from the drop of the green flag. Dawson Nixon leading the Open B class over Gregory Tenney. Craig Oberholzer out of Alexis, North Carolina. Ridgely out of Jackson, Ohio in 3rd. Matt Sorge in 4th. And Dylan Barnhouse out of Shade, Ohio rounds out your top 5. Looking at our next class is the 250B class. Cameron Madison out of Wright City, Missouri, leading Josh Connor now. Trent Gaither back in that number 3 position. John McGeehee in the number 4 position. And Wyatt Schumann now out of Rome, Pennsylvania, rounds out your top 5. Toby Cleveland out of New York leading the 150B class with Lightning Lucas Grounds out of Martinsville, Indiana, the number 2 spot. Cooper Jones in 3rd. It's Blake Kohler, a fast cat himself, in that number 4 position. And Anthony Blackburn out of South Park, PA, rounds out the top 5. 4-stroke B lights class, Bradley Bykowski. He got the whole shot out of New Marshville, literally just minutes down the road from where we are right now. He's leading Miles Gefkin after 3 laps complete. Lake Plowman in 3rd. Wyatt Morris in the number 4 spot. Tyler Hashman in 5th. Jimmy Johnson out of Jefferson, PA. Not that Jimmy Johnson, but our Jimmy Johnson leading the Vet B30+ class with Nick Bush running in the number 2 spot out of Washington, West Virginia. Jeremiah Taylor, Josh Webb, and Cody Hosta round out those top 5 in that Vet B30+ class. Brent Belsole leading the Senior B40+ class out of Medina, Ohio, with Mike Horwath out of Normalville, PA in 2nd. Joselton Ramos, who got the whole shot, in 3rd out of Massachusetts. Jason Wilson in 4th. And Gene Swidwa rounds out your top 5. Stu Baylor leading that XC1 Pro class. Ben Kelly, Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Andrew DeLong, your top 5 in the XC1 Pro class. And, of course, Grant Baylor has reestablished 3rd place overall on time adjustments as well as physically on the race right now as well. Jonathan Garrar in the number 1 spot of the XC2 250 Pro class. He is 4th overall out of Southwick, Massachusetts. Mike Wachowski, Craig DeLong, Liam Draper, and Cody Barnes then round out your top 5 in that XC2 250 Pro class. Zach Hayes in the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, seeing some good changes and some good battles out of this one this season. Mike DeLosa back in the number 2 spot. Jason Lipscomb is 3rd. Brian DeSaul in the number 4 spot. And Jason Raines, who took 3rd here in 2001, the last time that we had a Burr Oak GNCC racing now in the FMF XC3 class. Tyler Braniff, Nathan Rector 1 and 2 in the Open A class. Then it's Will Piper, who got a good strong start out there today in 3rd. Dylan Dela Cruz is 4th, and Chase Hayes rounds out your top 5. Joe Cunningham out of Murray City, Ohio, leading Brody Johnson this 258 class, a highly touted class as well. Both riders running now up about 16th, 17th overall positions. Tristan Landrum's in the number 3 spot. Dakota DeVore in that 4th place position. 158 bike class is Max Fernandez with Braden Nolette running back in the number 2 spot. Tanner Collins is 3rd. Eli Childers in the number 4 spot. And it's Dylan Hicks rounding out the top 5 of the 158 class. 4-stroke A lights, Tyler Palmer leading Mitchell Owenby now with Cole Whitmer back in the number 3 spot. Then it's Cody Meeks, a hometown boy nearly out of Athens, in 4th. And Adam Parker out of PA rounds out your top 5. Junior AB 25+ class, Zach Nash and Andrew Boggs going 1 and 2 for the moment, with Grant Marriott out of Ulster, Pennsylvania in the number 3 spot. Matt Bruffy is 4th, and Austin Franklin rounds out your top 5 in the Junior AB 25+ class. The next class we look at will be our Bet A class. Robbie Norwood out of Creedmoor, North Carolina, a former top youth racer and up-and-coming star. Morgan Greenback with us in the Bet A 30+ class, now out of Athens, Ohio in 2nd. Joe Marsh, Danny Haftel, and James Bauer rounding out your top 5. And a Smiling Frank, Shotgun Sean, and Vinny Tomic, along with Larry Sylvia and Todd Thompson, your top 5 in that Senior A 40+ class. Both guys in this class that lead this class have got rightful and great nicknames. Smiling Frank, Shotgun Sean Remington, and they always battle it out up front. As we are here with Steve Hatch still. Steve, I know you probably got to go throw a couple pit boards, tell Johnny G how good he's doing out there and things like that. But buddy, we certainly appreciate you stopping by, reliving some of the times with us, and of course getting us up to date on what's going on these days as well in your programs.
Yeah, thank you, Rodney. I appreciate it. It's always great to stop by, see what's going on, hear you guys guys and relive some of the past and look at the future. So it's great to be at the GNCC as always. So thank you.
And you will have to, we are going to do a 10 seconds XC off-road cast, okay?
I'm in.
All
Sounds
right.
fantastic.
All right, so I'm going to put you on my calendar. I got to sit down and write all this stuff out, but within the next couple of weeks, we'll get you 10 seconds live, all right?
Sounds great. And yeah, if anybody wants to, the Power of the Mind Coach is our program coming up on Wednesdays. So if you want to get on there, it's awesome.
Is that something that you can get in as the season, as it progresses, or you need to get in on the first step?
Yeah, you could get in after probably a couple of weeks, but there's only a 10-week program, so it starts for real on this coming Wednesday, the 30th. Tomorrow night, September 28th, we're going to do from 8 to 8:30 a free Zoom link for 30 minutes to tell people what this program's about.
That's tomorrow night, you say?
Yeah, tomorrow night. So 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you go to powerthemind.coach, you can definitely get signed up there, and you can check it out for free tomorrow night, see if it's something that you'd like to do.
Powerofthemind.coach. Steve Hatch, thank you very much for being a part of the day today, buddy.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Adam Gordon's going to be on that
good.
call with you.
All right, Adam. We'll want to see you there.
That little fellow right over there
Ryan will be there.
Yep, Ryan will be there. So
thank you guys so much.
The great Steve Hatch, man. We certainly appreciate him being on hand with us, waiting on the leaders at the 4-mile marker. And last we saw, Stu Baylor, Ben Kelly, Grant Baylor were your top 3 overall physically and on adjusted time. And we should be seeing these guys checking back in with us here fairly shortly. And of course, with that, waiting on the leaders just over 2 hours and 5 minutes into this race. And, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of folks waiting with bated breath. But, you know, one thing that's really cool, the fan support that we have out here. And again, here he comes, the 514. Stu Baylor has got some of the greatest fan support that I've seen in GNCC racing in quite some time. First lap of racing, I was standing outside the broadcast tent, and I was watching them come across the top of the hill coming out of the moto track. And I could hear the fans across that hill yelling and screaming and cheering for Stu Baylor as he made his way onto the moto track. It was rather intriguing and amazing and actually very cool. I mean, it really was to see that kind of excitement out of the race fans there. So a good lead opening up, and it continues to remain a good lead with the 5:30 of Ben Kelly, about 24 seconds, I believe, is what Adam is telling us there. So we're still looking in that neighborhood, 24, 25 seconds between first and second place position. Waiting on that third place position, which is a good minute and a half, possibly pushing back to close to 2 minutes now, depending on whether or not the Grizzly has awoken or not and started clawing his way back up to try to close in some of that real estate. You know, Grant might be looking at a situation right now. He's had one of those years where he's been in some pretty decent positions, got some podiums, and missed some podiums because of just hard luck, miscalculations, and then, of course, some mechanical failures and things like that. But all in all, man, I mean, you got to give it to Grant Baylor. He's been a true hard trudger. No matter what they're throwing at him, no matter what the cards are dealt to him, he's playing them. And he's making good hands out of everything that, even on the bad days, even on the days that, say he blew him up, he still had a good day going. He had great things to come out of that and to build off of. So,
but talk about Stu Baylor, you know, he come back 1 week of riding a bike, and he only rode it once, I'm pretty sure.
He had an hour and 20 minutes on that bike, basically, before he rode it.
Wins the race, and then he comes back and picks up where he's left off and is winning the race. But Ben Kelly, he's not letting it easily.
And Ben's right. I mean, Ben is where he was 2 weeks ago, too, in West Virginia. That's one thing that we got to remember, you know. And here comes Grant Baylor, the 314 Grizzly Grant on that Factory One Sherco now.
I think they're opening from Grant. I think Grant is off the pace.
Yeah, we're probably a little closer back to that 2-minute time frame back there to get to talk, to get to see him. But regardless, a very respectable ride, especially whenever you take into account the pace that is going on up front right now. Because, I mean, we know Stu's a hard charger and a fast rider, and you have to be. And he's gone into full sprint mode, literally full sprint mode from the waving of the green flag. He had to battle that first few turns, get into the woods, make a few passes, get to where he needed to be. There's Jordan Ashburn checking by in the number 4 position now.
Did you see the gap that between Grant Baylor and Jordan Ashburn, that has grown a lot.
It has, and if you look back at that and that you point that out, it was 26 seconds. I think we're getting somewhere closer to a minute. There's Johnny Girard now, and it looks like Johnny Girard is actually maybe starting to
top 3 again, maybe?
I'm not going to say fade back, but he settled into his own pace out there, his winning pace in the 250 Pro class. But I don't know that he's running the pace to get back up into that top 3 overall. Johnny G, the other one, our Johnny Gallagher, Mr. GNCC himself, back in the broadcast booth with us. And Johnny Gallagher, I know that you said Ryder Lafferty sitting in the back of a truck over there just a few minutes ago. You had a chance to head on over there. What do we got going on, buddy?
Yeah, unfortunately, Ryder, as we said, coming off probably a career high just a week ago at the National Enduro, winning his first ever overall. There's Ben Kelly on screen, our second place in XC1 and second place overall rider. Ryder, unfortunately, I think he was struggling a little bit early in the race. We saw he was back there in about that sixth place position, 6th, 7th, kind of in there. But didn't really quite make those moves we're accustomed to him seeing. But that being said, when he came in for fuel, he got a bottle, went out, and he said he made it a couple miles, and his stomach literally just went in knots. Said he was doubled over in pain, barely able to ride, could hardly breathe. Something happened with his stomach. Speaking with his mechanic Napper there,
I think there's a bug going around, to be honest with you.
Sounds like the bottle that he took was a standard bottle that he normally takes. Nothing different. When we say bottle, it's a drink bottle with the hose on the end of it, so they can drink while they're riding. You see them hanging out of their mouths sometimes. Something caused his stomach to cramp up so badly he was unable to do it. He said, hey man, I don't want to be that guy that just quits. He said, but I was in so much pain I couldn't ride my dirt bike.
I can understand.
So called it a day for him for today.
I think there may be a little stomach thing going around. Not saying that he has it, but I've talked to a few other people that have had some stomach cramping issues over the last couple of weeks, or a week and a half anyway.
And Johnny Girard.
We saw there just a moment ago, we saw that shot of the IMS tank in the Ampro Yamaha pits, just to give you an idea and a heads up of what that's about. Stu Baylor, they are ready for Stu Baylor in the pits for one more gas stop. So if we were questioning whether Stu was going to try to push the envelope to go all the way to the checkers, it looks like the answer to that question is no, they are going to fuel him.
Yeah, that answers that question. So we were wondering exactly how that was going to play out. It doesn't look like they're wanting to wait until the white flag. They're going to go ahead and do it with 2 to go. They're going to get him some fuel, so just in case he does have a battle on his hands, you never want to be doing that late in the race on the last lap. Grant Baylor, the number 314 on the Factory One Sherco. Look at him hopping through that.
Yes, he cleared it. The first one. Oh my.
Hey,
took a day.
It took a day. That's what he was wanting somebody to do that yesterday on the ATVs.
Here's big brother Stu out front, a little further down the track, about a mile ahead, and ahead of everybody at the moment, leading the way in that XC1 Pro and overall. Makes that FMF PowerPoint looks easy.
Well, Grant, I talked about the aggression of Grizzly Grant, where we're starting to see it now. It's funny to me how I don't want to say lackadaisical, but just how he was just flowing and in a groove and in a flow out there. But now here later in the race, we're in the last hour, Johnny. We're 2 hours and nearly 12 minutes into this race, and you've got Grant Baylor now just getting warmed up and starting to come to life, it looks like.
Yeah, starting to come to life, and he's really, we know, Rodney, obviously Grant and Stu are riders that seem to get stronger as these races go on, and the deeper in they get, the more opportunity it seems that they have to make passes and make time, and they just get so strong as the races go on. We're at the 2-hour mark, and that's kind of where they really have made their money over the years. So keep an eye on Grant. He's got a pretty big gap to make up on the top 2 in front of him. Ben Kelly, who just came through in the 2nd place position, and Stu Baylor, obviously his big brother, out front leading the way. But I tell you what, Rodney, here is Stu coming down now on the other side of the Monster Mile, and man, he looks like he's really got even a little bit more sense of urgency. He's probably getting those boards at Ben Kelly, maybe trying to chip away at that lead, and we know he's going to be making a stop on VP Fuels Pro Row for some fuel.
That right there might be just exactly it. I think they maybe said something about a fuel stop, so I'd say that that's probably in his mind. He's wanting to get a little extra time between himself and that 2nd place position. But man, I mean, the time is certainly being added on there, because this gap is getting quite a bit bigger, from a 9.6 second gap to now around that 25 to 30 second range is what we're looking at now.
Yeah, we're over 20. We're at about 22 right now, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, like you said, right at about 30 seconds.
And that was just looking at it, Johnny. See, I'm pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Money. We know how Rodney Tomlin makes his money. He goes to Vegas and he places bets on things. So he's
timing and scoring.
about 30 seconds. So again, keep in mind though, folks, it was 9-point-something seconds when they came through scoring a lap ago. It did seem that Ben Kelly probably gave up about 10 to 12 seconds in the pit there. So we saw that 9-second gap grow to about 21, I think. Now it's up to 30. So Stu's been able to open up another 9 or 10, give or take, on Ben throughout the course of this 8 miles so far of this 11-mile lap. But we do know that after they check into scoring, we'll see what the gap is there. But then we can probably just safely say he's probably going to give up about 10 seconds when he stops in the Ampro Yamaha pits for some fuel for that YZ450.
Johnny, lap traffic. Here we are into the final hour for closing laps. We got a lap and a half, or actually less than a lap and a quarter or so to go in this race right now. Lap traffic. You know, we oftentimes talk a little bit about this. We got a 14-mile racetrack here today. Just under 200 riders on the racetrack, and I don't think that lap traffic has been an issue in this afternoon race today.
No, I think this is obviously, you know, the course markings say it's an 11-mile track, but we know it's actually much longer once you add in the Penton section. That coupled with the fact that, as you said, just over 200 riders this afternoon, for a course in that length, you know, that's as we can see when we're seeing these camera shots, when the top guys aren't coming through, we're not exactly seeing a steady stream of riders. It's kind of one here, two there.
Yeah.
So when they come up on these guys, you know, they know they're coming. They know it's an XC1 or an XC2 guy coming. They know it's a faster rider. They're probably getting out of the way. I don't anticipate, you know, or a track like Steel Creek or somewhere like that, we hear all the time. How many times have we seen a race be decided by lappers, a place like that? But here today, in these conditions, yeah, I don't think lappers are a big issue.
Yeah, there you go. Wow. I don't want to say a loss for words right now, but I mean, as much as I expected to see what happened today, I mean, let's just kind of rewind and look back over the last 2 hours and 16 minutes or 15 minutes or so, Johnny. I mean, when this thing started out, Caleb Russell, got the whole shot, got the early lead. I think Stu was somewhere around third or fourth going into that third turn, and I know he was making some passes and stuff, but it didn't take him long to get up front. And I seen these guys on the top of the hill here, just above the concession stand, behind where the concession stand is located, which is a couple of miles, and it's just right around that FMF power point, and a few miles before the finish line. Even though that gap was only about 8-10 seconds on that at the end of the first lap, Stu had pretty much doubled the distance between himself and Caleb Russell, that second place position on that first lap. Then, of course, you know, the misfortune for Caleb on lap 2 had the issue there in the John Penton section, miscalculated a line, clipped a tree. Sounds like he might have damaged a knee or something like that. But here's something really cool. We did see Caleb ride away on a bicycle. So that's kind of good news in a way, that maybe like you said, the stinger or whatever, you know, the initial pain and everything starting to go away. Maybe it's not as bad as maybe what initially thought or folks were afraid might be.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's something that you definitely have to keep an eye on. You know, and a guy who's is enthralled in a championship battle, like here we see Lane Michael on screen, like Caleb Russell is at the moment. You know, 63 points is what he had over Josh Strang coming into this race. In looking at the points as they run, Josh Strang, we last saw, was in 17th place overall, which means that he would be earning 4 points for his efforts today. That would drop that 63-point lead down to 59. So 59 points. That is 2 full races, 1 point shy of 2 full races if Josh were to win those 2 races. But there's 3 rounds left. Yeah. So that means, you know, that if Caleb were to have to take a round off, or, you know, is not at his best, he's definitely going to want to earn any points that he can at the upcoming rounds. Ultimately, if you want to just deduce it to pure math, Caleb Russell with the 59-point lead basically would just, if he leaves the next race with a 60-point lead, so if he could go out and finish 1 position ahead of Josh Strang, he would wrap up the championship. You know, or basically, if you want to further it from there, basically going into the final round of a 13-round series, he would just need to have a 30-point lead to wrap up the championship. So that's kind of the math. We'll leave all the if come what maybes to, we don't know obviously the extent of his injuries. We may get an update throughout the week. We'll wait and find out. But at this point, I think he's probably just trying to ice it, and just a little bummed on how the day went, but still sitting in pretty good position as far as the championship goes.
Waiting on the leaders once again here. 2 hours and 18 minutes nearly in this race. Our leaders should be checking in at the finish line in less than 2 minutes. So we're watching high above on our Yamaha Racing Skycam, and we'll be catching Stu Baylor, or what we expect to be Stu Baylor, our leader at last check, coming out of these wooded sections and then making his way toward that moto track, and of course the conclusion of lap number 4, and I'm assuming we'll be seeing a white flag on this one.
Yeah, it surely seems based on time that this should be a white flag waving situation when they come through with 2 hours and 18 minutes. That would put them, oh, here they are right now. So he's going to be coming in right about 2:19. We know they've been running about 35-minute lap times, so that would put them kind of right at that 2:55 mark, which is more than enough to make the minimum requirements. I do believe that Ricky Towery will have the white flag waving here in about 4 more corners for Stu Baylor.
Yeah, and to clarify something from yesterday, I know there were a lot of questions we were wondering about yesterday. We were talking about the 1:45-minute mark, and you guys, I think, ended up going like 2 minutes and 12 minutes, or 2 hours and 12 minutes, or something like that for the winner. But I understand we were basing things on the 1 hour 45-minute mark for the ATVs. It's actually a 1 hour 50-minute race to be considered a full race for the afternoon ATVs. Just to clarify, anybody that was watching yesterday and wondering how that all broke down.
Yeah, that's basically how they figured things out, and there we go. We were right, Rodney. White flag waving. Ricky Towery has it in hand. We'll see what the gap is. Last we knew, it was right about 30 seconds. Oh, Stu kind of blows that corner out, gives up maybe a couple milliseconds there. But again, that shows the aggression, shows just how badly he wants not only to win, but for right now to open up this gap over Ben Kelly, because he knows he got to get some fuel.
We're seeing dust kick up on the outskirts of the track, the sides and edges of the track, and it is in the middle of the track. But look how hard packed that track is. You talked about this Southern Ohio clay. There's probably even some blue groove out there in a lot of the places on this track.
Absolutely, for sure. No probably about it. There is blue groove a lot of places. They're laying down rubber in some of these hard packed corners. Here he is coming in. Ampro Yamaha pits. They got that fuel jug in, got that Fiji water game strong. He's hard on the throttle.
36.7 seconds is what Stu Baylor was ahead of Ben Kelly when he checked in. That pit stop couldn't have taken more than 7 seconds.
Yeah, we'll see what the gap is here. We'll see. Maybe we might be able to get it here right at the end of this stake. 2:20.14. He comes around the final corner there of the VP Fuel Pro row and heads into auxiliary pits. We'll see if we can get a shot of Ben Kelly in that same section. We may or may not, based on our Yamaha Racing Skycam.
5 seconds is what we're getting start to stop. So I was going to say 5, but I didn't want to sound too overly eager for Stu. But it was a very quick pit stop. Just a quick splash of gas just to ensure getting to the finish line.
Gas and go, that's all it takes. They know the mileage on these things pretty well. They know what it takes to get to the finish. This is the road crossing heading over to the old mulch pile side of the track. Stu should be popping out here any minute, and there he is, coming around those Parts Unlimited Moose Racing Alpine Stars banners, and he's hammered down and headed out on this very, very dusty section of the track here.
Well, not to ask any, I don't think we need to ask the question, what's going through Stu Baylor's mind right now? Will he have it? Is there too much weight on his shoulders? No, none of that. There's not. And it's just a matter of hitting marks and playing hitting your lines and things like that. I think, he has got a flow going on again here today that, it's going to take a lot to knock him off of this momentum that he's got going on, and to tell you, to see the way things are going, I know we'll have Thad Duvall back at the next race, and other guys are going to be a little more healthy, and maybe Caleb Russell will be back and be healthy, and obviously coming back with a vengeance, seeing Stu Baylor taking 2 wins in a row so dominantly out here. He does want to give Stu that overconfidence, so to speak, just as a friendly thing as much as anything, as much as a competitor thing, I think. But man, the rest of the season, it's with what we're watching here today and 1 lap to go, man, this is kind of intriguing of what the rest of the season could look like.
Yeah, absolutely. It really kind of gives you some weekday fodder, things to talk about. There we see Johnny Gerard and Andrew DeLong. You know, can we really say enough about this guy right now? This is a guy that has had such a, I don't even know how to say it, heartbreak of a season.
Yeah.
I mean, every race it's been problems. You know, and he's out there, whether, you know, last race I believe he smashed a rock and broke a foot peg. You know, it's been bike issues throughout the year. I mean, this guy just,
he's hard on a bike, dude.
he pretty much came right out and said, like, you know, he's just heartbroken. He's giving it his all, and it's just not working out. And today, you know, we're going to knock on some wood for you here, Andrew, but right now, one of the best rides we've seen out of him this year, in a 5th place position in that XC1 class and 8th place overall on corrected time.
Every time we've said that, it looks like that he's got a good race going.
Today's the day, Rodney.
I'm with you.
He's going to close it out in the top 5 in class and top 10 overall, and that is going to be a great ride for him with all that he's been through this year. I mean,
Amen.
if you spend 2 seconds talking to Andrew DeLong, I mean, this guy is the core of what GNCC is about. You know, he's just a hard-working, grinding, blue-collar kind of guy. Whether it's working at a recycling yard when he's between rides or whatever it may be, driving a dump truck. You know, this guy just loves racing his dirt bike, loves going through the woods, and he's out here grinding it out on that Phoenix Racing Factory Honda at the moment and grinding out quite well in the top 5. Stu Baylor back across the road there, Rodney. We'll wait and see what that gap is to Ben Kelly.
So Ben Kelly still in 2nd, Grant Baylor in 3rd, back in the number 4 spot overall, the 969 of Jonathan Garrar, and looking at that lap time of 36:25 for Jonathan, and Grant Baylor turning a 36:20. Let's see, 36:07. So he was some seconds, 18 seconds faster. Looking at the difference now, it's about 25 seconds that separate them on an overall adjusted time.
Well, and I think the gap that Johnny Gerard is really probably going to be paying attention to is that gap back to Mike Witkowski for that overall, or I'm sorry, for that win in XC2. We did see Mike Witkowski come in for a splash of gas just now. A lot of guys, it seems, leaning towards that, hey, we need a little splash before we complete this last lap. Stu's still out there just pushing the pace. So we'll get a clock here, race clock at 27 in that left-hander. If we do get to see, sorry, that was 2:24.27. So we'll see exactly what that gap is back to Ben Kelly when he comes through, Rodney.
What's going on in Thad Duvall's mind right now?
You know, and that's real quick. One thing I do want to point out before Ben comes through, you know, Ricky Russell was here and he said, hey, man, you know, Caleb Russell could today, this is before the crash, could be the guy to knock Stu off his high horse. And when he left, he said, you know, I said something bad about Stu and I never got to say something good about Stu. Oh, here's Ben right now. So I
counted 33 seconds.
That's about where he was. 36 seconds is what we saw at the finish line.
Yeah, so is it?
And that's since the pit stop. So
yep.
Stu only lost 3 seconds on that pit stop.
Yeah, so if you pitted for 5 and is only 3 seconds closer, that means Stu's already pulled out another 2 seconds, so just 2 miles than what he had, you know, previously.
Right,
so,
right.
But Ricky wanted to point out, you know, he's a big fan of Stu's. He spent the week with him. And, you know, he said, hey, the guy, you know, really didn't do much this week. He said he just kind of like was living. He said, but, you know, you can't say enough about Stu, his tenacity, his work ethic. He trains hard. You know, he plays the part. He likes to drink his adult libations and, you know, have his fun and eat his bad food, but he also works really hard, trains really hard.
Yeah,
and, you don't
reverse the effects.
This. You know, you don't fake these kind of rides 2 weeks in a row.
No, you don't. I mean, and you don't get lucky like that 2 weeks in a row. Well, Johnny, here just a couple months ago, just before the summer break, you know, we talk about the Weisco John Penton GNCC. We're back here in Ohio 2.0 for 2020 for the Burr Oaks GNCC. Let's go back and take a little look at what the race was like here at the Weisco John Penton as we look at the 2020 highlights from here in the championship season. And the way things took off here that day, Caleb Russell, I mean, this is other minus, of course, Stu Baylor. This is almost a deja vu of what we saw out there. Ben Kelly was one of the front runners. Jordan Ashburn was up there. And then Caleb Russell. Whoa, Caleb Russell got off to a lead, started trying to stretch things out. Some issues here and there, but they were self-absorbed and self-overcome, so he was able to do just exactly that for the most part. However, Ben Kelly, a thorn in the side at a lot of different races. There you see he got around Caleb in this in the early part of this race out here, but it didn't take too long for Caleb to reassess and readjust himself and get back into that #1 position. And you know, what we thought then was his last ride as a GNCC XC1 Pro Class rider.
in his home state of Ohio, on his home turf of his family farm. You know, we thought that was going to be the last time that we saw him, and what a spectacular day he had here on that day. Unfortunately, not seeing as much.
Can't say enough about that guy either.
Yeah,
114,
right.
Josh String. You know, early in the season, we've almost kind of forgotten about it because of his injury during the summer, but he was really, really racing Caleb Russell hard through the first several races of 2020.
Yeah, he and Ricky Russell, as we pointed out. But at the checkers, it was Caleb, and, you know, amazingly, he certainly sets the standard and sets the stage. This guy rises to it today, no doubt about it. Can he stay in this position? Round 10 of 13. It's the Burr Oak GNCC. Stu Baylor going for 2 in a row on his AmPro Yamaha. Stick around to find out whether or not he's going to make it happen here on GNCC Live.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products, and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lieb, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com. where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
We are American motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer. We win and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
Yeah, so this is the second time we're here this season, and I keep talking to everybody about it. Like, oh, last year it was like, oh, nope, actually it was this year. But, you know, this place has always been pretty good to me. I got my first XC2 win here years ago, but hoping for a good day today and to get it on the podium.
And welcome back to GNCC Live on RacerTV.com from Millfield, Ohio, and the Yamaha Burr Oak GNCC, where last night we held our 7th round, I believe, of E-MTB GNCC. And, well, guess who it was all about once again? Oh, look at that. Jeff McCarron got the whole shot. It was not Hot Rod Charlie Mullins. Mullins was actually running in about a 4th or 5th place position to kick things off, but it did not take long for the defending national champion to work his way into the front position. Man, look at the muscles on that rider, and well formed, no doubt about it. Pushes hard, and you see why he is the physical fitness guru that he is. And of course, with Charlie, you had a lot of competition out there, but no one really, Johnny, ever really pushed the envelope for Charlie. He's the only time that Charlie's been beaten so far in the last 2 years of competition has been due to mechanical issues and mechanical failures. However, this young rider right here, that number 99, whose name slips my mind at this particular moment, is and has been probably the closest competitor we've seen consistently all season long. So in my mind's eye, I'm looking forward to, in the maybe not necessarily this season, but next season, we're going to see a whole different look to what E-MTB GNCC competition is about. And Charlie may have his hands full whenever it comes, but not right now. Charlie is the man.
Yeah, he's the man getting the win. And one thing to point out, for those of you that don't at home know, Charlie Mullins will actually be competing next weekend in the World Championship of E-MTB Racing, which is held in conjunction with the Cycling World Championships, which covers downhill mountain biking, cross-country mountain biking. There's some other disciplines as well. Pretty much everything except for road cycling and cyclocross is going on next weekend, next Wednesday. Actually, he'll be racing not this coming Wednesday, the following Wednesday, leading up to what will be our Mason-Dixon GNCC. Charlie actually flying to Austria this coming Saturday, I believe he's flying. He'll arrive there Sunday, a couple of days of prep, and he will be racing against the best E-MTB racers in the world in the E-MTB World Championships. So we're sending our finest over, and I'll tell you what, last year finished 4th, just off the podium.
So here's the thing. I mean, Charlie, go over there, open some eyes. We may open a whole new avenue of riders. You know, we've seen it happen on the two-wheel side of things when the Europeans started making their way to the U.S. to race GNCC, which is
obviously huge on the world stage. This right here might be the exact same thing that we're going to be looking at.
Absolutely. And speaking of international riders, and all of you at home, you can actually follow along if you want to watch Charlie next weekend race against the best in the world. There is, I'll try to post it on my social media. There is a link where you can follow along with the live scoring next Wednesday. Again, that won't be this coming Wednesday, it's the following. So everybody, a week from Wednesday, everybody wish Charlie Mullins, our E-MTB GNCC, kind of our, I guess you would say, the multi-time champion. I don't know that he's actually locked that up yet this year, but he did win the championship last year, and he's won all but one race this year. So he's kind of the leader of the pack right now. But speaking of international flair, I want to point out real quick, 10th place overall, Lyndon Snodgrass. First time we have seen him this late in a race, up in the top 10 overall, in the 5th place spot in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And shout out to Lyndon. Like we said, a great rider that's really kind of come from overseas, came from Australia, staying with Josh Strang, training with him, had to miss some races because of travel restrictions due to COVID, but he's back, he's racing with us, and this is the first we've seen of him late in a race up in the top rankings.
I think, Lyndon, I know you talked about and made mention that we kind of expected maybe some bigger things out of Lyndon here in this 2020 season, but the one thing that I do want to point out, I've seen these kind of things happen before in seasons past where, people come in and they put a lot of pressure on themselves and other people put pressure on them and so forth, and they may not live necessarily up to the hype that was brought in with them. But now that he's got a year under his belt, he's got it all figured out. He will have gone to most, if not all, the tracks by next year's schedule. He'll have a lot more confidence, and he'll know what he's gauging on. He'll know what he's working for and working on in the offseason. So when we see him in, say, February of 2021, we may be looking at a totally different rider, and he may be that rider that everyone expected, and maybe even exceed the expectations of what a lot of people are expecting out of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. And like you said, Rodney, we've seen this before. We saw it with, if you go back a few years, Pascal Rocknicker came out and won his very first XC2 race at Ironman, coming from overseas, another rider that was involved in both World Enduro and actually currently racing the MXGP. He's a top 20 rider in MXGP and the motocross stuff right now, riding for, I believe it's one of the Husqvarna teams over there. I can't remember. He may be on a gas, but regardless, he's a top rider over there, and then just never really was able to continue with that level of success. Had a lot of podiums, a bunch of seconds, but ultimately never did win that XC2 championship or make it up to XC1 with any kind of consistency. So Snodgrass, I don't know what his plan was, if it was just a one-year deal or if he's here with that Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki team for multiple years. But again, if he is back next year, I think you're absolutely right. We'll see a lot more experience and a lot more well-rounded Lyndon Snodgrass.
Yeah, and oftentimes in situations like that, I don't think you can put that much pressure on most individuals that come in to expect something out of them in their first year of competition. I mean, some riders are able to rise to that occasion, but this form of racing, though, everybody does a lot of off-road racing. GNCC is its own beast, so to speak, just like the National Enduro, Sprint Enduro. Everything is their own beast, and GNCC takes a lot of things, and the thing about it is, most importantly, is 3 hours of consistency.
Yeah, absolutely, and he comes from a completely different format of racing. He comes from, I don't know if he actually ran World Enduro, but obviously the ISDE format is, you're on the bike all day for like 8+ hours, but you actually only do, anywhere from 5 to 6 tests per day that actually are counted towards your time. The rest of it is just kind of what they call transfers. Stu Baylor on screen at the 4-mile marker and still leading the way.
Yes, he is. It still seems to be right in his flow. It's remain in that flow that he's been in pretty much from lap number 1. And of course continues to try to open things up, as we had pointed out, some 30+, nearly 40 seconds, 36.5 seconds ahead of Ben Kelly whenever they came through. We've seen it drop down, I think, to 34 seconds, so he'd actually stopped for a 5-second pit stop and had gained back at least 2 seconds on Ben Kelly. And I have to wonder, as this continues to go, as far as time is concerned here, that gap is much larger.
Much bigger.
Much larger than the 36 seconds that we were looking at there just a few miles down the trail. Grant Baylor, another nearly 2 minutes back in that number 3 position.
Where's Ben Kelly?
And still waiting on Ben Kelly. As we said, he
is.
A 25 second
cushion on the overall over Jonathan Garrar there. There is Ben Kelly checking in now.
I'm going to say that's about 50 seconds around there.
It's pushing close to a minute. 50 seconds is what we're getting also from Adam Gordon. And Adam, thanks for being on there. Was that wasn't...
That's Evan Earl.
Okay, that was Evan Earl. Evan, again, Evan coming to us from the KLM Kawasaki team. Looks like he may be having a few struggles out there today, but again, a new team and new efforts coming in from that Kawasaki team. It's going to be interesting to watch their progression throughout the course of the rest of the season, and I know they're really looking forward to the 2021 season as far as that team is concerned, just kind of getting their feet wet right now. So Kelly through, waiting on Grant Baylor now. I have to wonder if maybe Grant, it did look like that Grant was picking up the aggression a little bit there. Ryan, when we last saw him, it looked like he was riding with a little more sense of urgency, and that seems to be the case as we talked about with Johnny Gallagher for these Baylor boys. So even watching now, I'm beginning to wonder maybe Grant Baylor didn't just fall into his pace out there, because we are getting probably pretty close to when I would expect to see Grant Baylor, especially at the pace that he was going at, checking in with us, and also seeing how far back Ben Kelly has dropped. But, on the flip side of that, maybe Stu Baylor's just made up that much more time and stretched that lead out that much more.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Grant Baylor. Grant Baylor, he's in this position where he wants to push, but he can't make any mistakes because that would take him off his third place. And Jordan Ashburn, he's far, but he's still close enough to capitalize on any mistake that Grant Baylor will do. So it kind of gets Grant Baylor into if I push or if I don't, or if I just stay,
right.
Just
so settle for what we got here, or push for more. And you bring up a very good point, especially for this. There he is right there. For this rider, not necessarily a lot to prove, but if anything else, just to position himself and get himself back into a good place and point. So is it worth the risk to make the push, put the machine under that kind of duress and stress, and yourself physically, or just settle in and take that third place position, be satisfied with that, and use it as a building block, so to speak?
Yeah, because if I was Grant Baylor, I would just settle in for third, because any mechanical problem is a possibility, and any mistake that he does make could cost him that third place.
And here is a look at that track. We took a look at the track in this section yesterday about this time in the race.
It was bad. Ooh.
Yeah, it was bad. Look at it now, man. Those bikes, you'd think that ATVs would be more brutal on certain sections like this, but I think the motorcycles are tougher on some of the sections.
Yeah, than the quads, for sure.
Yeah, and they certainly develop lines a lot differently than the ATVs do. At the Monster Mile, this is the 6-mile marker, Split Rock. The rock concert is what some people call it. There comes Ben Kelly through now.
I'm not sure if it's just me, or I feel like Ben has closed the gap just a tiny bit, but I think he has closed just a little bit.
I'm not sure. I think it's just you right now, but it's a possibility. I mean, we're at a juncture in the race where Stu is just basically trying to ride this one out and get home to the checkers. He is about 10 minutes or so away from 9.5 minutes, according to timing and scoring, when we should be expecting these riders in at the finish line, or at least Stu Baylor.
Yeah, about a 2 hour,
So 9 minutes on we'll be at 2 hour and 50. Yeah, 2 hour 55 minute mark, somewhere in that neighborhood. So this is going to be an interesting 9 minutes or so as we await Stu Baylor and whether or not he can do what seemed like maybe the impossible for some and take 2 wins in a row on the Yamaha, not because it's a Yamaha, but because of his his current situation and circumstances, and of course just being a new rider on the machine, to be able to take it to the limits he's taking it to right now is just utterly amazing. Talking with him, he rode it at a National Enduro last week. I think he said that his brother and Ryder Lafferty finished within 8 seconds of each other. There was 8 seconds back to third. His brother was only like 2 seconds behind. So pretty interesting to know that Stu Baylor is really adapting very well with this Blue Crew Yamaha.
You know, that's his nickname now, I guess, Stu on the blue, because, you know,
Yeah.
on blue. And he,
It's a Stu crew, baby.
yeah, impressively that he adapts with any bike that you give him.
Yeah.
Like KTM, he's good with, like, you could give him a Suzuki, he'd probably win this thing, you know? Like, he...
No, don't be... Oh, no, I'm just kidding. No,
Like,
you're right.
you know,
I mean,
any bike.
I totally agree with you, Ryan. I mean, that's an observation that, you know, there's not a lot of people in this world that are able to adapt to that, like we said earlier in the show. But these Baylor boys, and especially, I think Stu Baylor is probably, and has proven that. I mean, he's ridden, in the last year alone, he's ridden 4 different brands of bikes. He's finished very strong on each one of them. He was riding the KTM a year ago. Then, of course, he started up with the Sherco in the first part of the year, nearly taking a win. Only his 3rd race on that one.
Oh, wow. Did you see that?
Yeah, that looked pretty
Ben Kelly's on the back wheel now, I guess.
He rode the Kawasaki, took some podiums at the National Enduro, and now taking a win in GNCC on the Yamaha, taking podium position finishes at the National Enduro. So pretty phenomenal stats and numbers for Stu Baylor right now. And, you know, you think, what are you blowing Stu Baylor's horn? I'll tell you, it's been nothing. The buzz has been nothing but Stu for the last 2 weeks. He's covered Cycle News on all the race reports. You know, I'm just glad that I got Stu before he got so popular and famous on my 10 Seconds cast. And I go back and I watch that sometimes, and I kind of chuckle knowing what has happened since then.
Oh, yeah, a lot of struggles for Stu Baylor. I forgot his name, you know. But, like, how about Yamaha? Yamaha, they're probably the happiest team, like, you know?
Well,
because, like, imagine recruiting a rider that's going to ride for XC1, and they're taking... All right, yeah, the gap has opened up, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was just me. Oh, rider down. But,
so you look at the Yamaha arsenal. I mean, this is a dream team that they're working on right now. If you've got Stu Baylor, and not saying that he will be, but if Stu Baylor stays and they work out a deal and he goes to the Yamaha for 2021 and he's riding with Blaine Michael and he's riding with Mike Witkowski, what kind of levels can he take the rest of the team to is the question that I have.
Yeah, that's the thing, because they can all train together and pick up some things. That would change a lot with Mike Witkowski too.
And Landon, you know, Lane, I should say, Lane does a lot of training right now with Caleb Russell, and not saying that he doesn't ride with a lot of other folks, but it might do Lane good to get out and see that difference and maybe work a little bit more. And hey, you know, Ampro Yamaha could be a force next season,
for sure.
just by looking at this tip of the iceberg right now, if everything was to fall in place for them.
Oh yeah, and one person too who has been training with Caleb Russell, which is working out for them, is John Girard. I talked to him yesterday before the micro started, and he said that he's been doing cycling, treadmill, like working out, swimming, everything he's doing with Caleb. He even moved 4 blocks away from where Caleb Russell lives just to work with him, you know. And you can see it's working out because John Girard, 4th spot in overall, and is also riding first in his XC2 class.
Well, I bet that's a culture shock for that New Englander down in Booneville, North Carolina. He's got to be enjoying himself, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially the weather. The weather is... Like right now in Connecticut, it's probably in those 40s, 30s. It's starting to get cold down there. I'm pretty sure we had our first snow at Washington. So.
Wow, that's.
So like it's a big deal moving that. So I think that was a good thing on Johnny's part and starting to train
to the heart of the GNCC Racing Nation.
And training with the best is like it's something else. Training with the best, you start learning stuff left and right to the point where you see you just got better from a week to another. Oh, Grant Baylor almost going down. Oof, sideways right there.
You know, Rodney, there's been so much going on throughout this race. I don't think I ever finished that thought earlier in the race. It is really hard to explain how slick those rocks are in that creek section. We've seen, I believe it was Lane Michael barely save a crash there. Obviously, Grant Baylor now getting a little whiskey through there.
And you even missed a lap rider. He went down.
Yeah, I mean, these guys make it look easy. They're the best in the world, but that is not an easy section of racetrack by any means. You know, they just kind of crawl up those rocks like it's nothing, but those rocks right there are just, you can see right there, it's just like ice.
And even,
wow, look at in the world? How have we not seen this guy all day?
7:02. I gotta go look.
Yes.
I gotta go looking for 7.
He's just laying there.
That almost doesn't look like a GNCC number, though.
Maybe, but on the point that you were talking, Johnny.
It's probably a B, right?
But on the point that I'm talking of finishing your point, Johnny, even the best of the world, really, of riders, the Jordan Ashburn, they even, you know, they're like that close to going down, you know? So that just shows how tough this spot is.
Yeah.
And that is the sickest thing I've ever seen here on a GNCC.
Yeah, Rodney, that 702, I can see underneath the bottom is the writing of what class it is. A lot of the local series here in Ohio do that. That could be a sticker from Wexer, could be from IXCR.
I mean, he does have the sticker on his helmet, though.
I didn't see.
Oh, that's Johnny.
There's Johnny Girard, the 969 Trails Gestures KTM. Feet off the pegs, one handguard sticking up in the air and still leading the way in XC2. In hot pursuit, though, is this guy right here, the 282
he's close.
of Mike Witkowski. Man, these two, if you could just, again, we talked about this. How many times, Rodney? 3 hours of racing. That's it. That's all that's in it, man.
I know.
Is it really even a matter of seconds, or is it more a matter of feet?
It's coming down, and sometimes inches, to be honest with you. Yeah,
yesterday, Bryson Neal and Walker Fowler, what was it? 4 milliseconds for 2 minutes?
4/10 of a second,
oh, yeah.
sort of 2 minutes, yeah.
Something like that, yeah, that was. And Craig DeLong, he hasn't made a push, or he wasn't able
to ask this question. Are there any issues that Craig DeLong is suffering from, or is he just trying to ride conservatively right now that he's got the points lead?
Yeah, I don't know really.
But they're tied too. Johnny and Craig, they're tied in points. So
okay.
Johnny, if he wins it or gets second, he's gonna leave points with the lead. So
wow. Okay, very interesting. I
there's
forgot
Stu
about
Baylor
that.
coming down to the motocross track. So.
Yep, this is our last closing moments, folks. We are seconds away, literally about 60 of them, before we'll see the checker flag fly. And Stu Baylor making history once again here in Ohio, this time at the Burr Oaks GNCC. 2 weeks ago, he did it in West Virginia as he jumped on a brand new ride, was able to take it basically almost what we saw here today.
This is
total
history.
Control.
Rodney, you had a hashtag earlier. You want to use that? You want to get that one rolling?
Hashtag Stu Crew, baby.
Hashtag
Yes,
Stu
sir.
Crew, hashtag Blue Crew.
That's it.
Stu Baylor, he's already starting to celebrate. You can see he knows he's got
Look at that.
He's revving her out. And
Trying to blow the motor.
Probably not going to try and rev it up as much as he did last time. The M-Pro guys were like, hey, man, that was cool. That was your first win. Could you not do that again? We got to rebuild the motor when you do that. But no, he earned this one, man. I mean, fought head to toe, absolutely tooth and nail all day long for this one. Look at the fans are fist bumping him. He's riding a wheelie. He knows 2 in a row for the 514 Am-Pro factory Yamaha of Stu Baylor.
Feeling it with every fiber of his body as he winds his way through the closing turns here at the Burr Oak GNCC. 2 race wins in a row as he rounds that final turn. He sees the checker flag, and Stu Baylor does it here at the Burr Oak GNCC.
Every race, Stu Baylor always comes up with some
Look
other
at
thing. Wearing goggles. Stu Baylor, he's so creative. I like Stu Baylor. You never know. What is he going to do for the finish? Is he going to wheelie? Is he going to do what he just did? Is he going to blow the motor? You know, I love watching Stu Baylor, especially if he takes the win. It's just amazing to see that.
No doubt about that, Ryan Moncio, and congratulations once again to Stu Baylor, hashtag Stu Crew, hashtag Blue Crew, as we are rolling through history and what could be a very good union between rider and manufacturer if this thing continues to roll at this pace right now. We're waiting on second place. Just curious how far back.
Kelly.
There's Ben Kelly coming in now on the number 530. He's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of closer to a minute behind. As we wind his way through the final turns now, and at the checker flag, Kelly checks in, and 58.3 seconds was the deficit on that. So Stu Baylor just keeping a consistently steady pace. A 35.42 lap time for him last time around. That was very consistent. He was turning 35.48s, 35.42s all race long.
Yeah, and if you're Randy Hawkins standing there with that whole thing going, it's, you've got you got a rider that you just pulled off the streets, basically, and it's just won 2 races in a row. You got to wonder what exactly is going through those guys' mind right now.
Tim Cotter, our director of operations, down there right now, giving Stu the walk forward. They've got a colored pass, colorful pass, if you will. You know, Stu, he and Stu have seen eye to eye, and he and Stu have seen in totally different directions. But the one thing about it is, Racer Productions have always respected Stu's abilities and his heart's desires, and of course, when we see the successes like this, we love to see riders come from adversities like this. And
he doesn't even look tired.
No, actually, dude. That's one thing. I mean, that was a very consistent pace that he turned today. There was very little variance from it. He wasn't really pushing. That looked like one of the most comfortable rides I've ever seen Stu Baylor. I mean, honestly, I'm not saying anything about anything, but I mean, normally when you see him, he looks aggressive. You can see that was, like I said earlier in the race, and at the risk of using this overused terms, butter, man. It was butter.
Hey. Rodney, 2 Baylors on the podium. Here comes LeBron Grant. Grizzly Grant, another nickname that we got the Stu crew, and then we got the Grizzly coming in. So he's coming in, got a couple more turns until he puts that factory 1 Sherco on the podium in the 3rd place overall position, and a great ride for this guy today. Wasn't really up in the mix for the win, but in a solid podium position all day long. This is a tough track and a tough race.
You know, and quietly confident is Grant Baylor, and you know, I think what we're witnessing out of him is this consistency week after week. What we may see, you know, talk about the switches flipping and things like that, talked a lot about that yesterday. What happens when the switch flips again for Grant Baylor, and when we see the rides that we saw out of him when he was young in the XC1 Pro career? You know, this could get very interesting. That ball coming back in a couple of weeks, Grant Baylor riding at the level he's riding at, and all the other amazing things that we've got going on in the GNCC racing world, not only for the rest of the season, but man, the stage that is setting for 2021 right now.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, they're all kind of finding their rhythm, finding their flow, pushing, doing their thing, and man, you know, 2 brothers on the podium, 2 different brands, 2 different teams, 2 different paths really to here today if you really want to think about it. But what a wild season 2020's been, and folks, we got to do this 3 more times in 2020.
No doubt. Johnny, you want to head over toward the podium and maybe start getting ready for here in just a moment to do some interviews, and we'll keep it here for just a moment and talk about the hang on just a second.
There's Johnny Gerard, and he is on the motor track now. He's gonna take XC2 win.
Yeah,
and
I forgot.
Looking 4th overall.
Yeah, Mikey Waynes is here. I forgot about him being here. I'm so used to not being here. Yeah. So Mikey Waynes is there. We got a microphone up here for you, Mikey. We'll no, you don't need it? He's got 2 at the podium? Okay, if he's got 2 down at the podium, we'll be in good shape then, I guess. All
right, but John Gerard, he's going to take the win on the XC2, and I don't see Mike Wachowski anywhere, really.
Well, there you go. Good point, Ryan. We did see a shadow back there quite a bit in the XC250 Pro class with Mike Wachowski those last 3 laps or so.
John Gerard, so stoked right now.
Yeah, 20 seconds is what the lead that he had over Mike Wachowski last time around, as Gerard now checks in with the #1 spot in the XC250 Pro class. Overall, let's double check and make sure he didn't slide one in on us out there. No, he finishes 4th place overall after time adjustments, 1 minute exactly to separate them. I mean, literally 1 minute and 1/10 of a second. Okay.
Rodney, you remember that scene from Days of Thunder, where they're sitting on the pit wall at the end of the race, and Cole Trickle finally gets the big win, you know, turns it all around, and they're standing there, and Harry, his mechanic, he says, "Hey, you ready to go?" He says, "Where are we going?" He says, "We got to go to Victory Lane. Remember where that's at? Can you make it there?" He says, "I'll race you." That's got to be the feeling Stu Baylor has right now. You know, yes, he just did it 2 weeks ago, but man, to do it again, back it up. Not that anybody thought it was a fluke, but you know, this is another statement ride from Stu Baylor. You know, he's really just impressing people week in and week out. He's had all this time to think about it. I'm sure you've seen on social media, he's got the big expose coming out explaining what all happened and how he got to where he is today with Mason Rader. They're actually looking for some sponsors for that series, I believe. But that being said, man, even if it's a temporary home, he's found a great home for right now on that AmPro Yamaha team, and they found a great rider in Stu Baylor.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been anticipating that video since they started filming it. I was talking with Stu right when they started doing the filming for that and explaining the story and so forth. And Mason Rader, just an amazing videographer and editor, and tells a story like nobody else can in video. And with this interview, it's going to be over the top. It's going to be answering questions that maybe you didn't even ask.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. I'll tell you what, if I ever got to tell my boring life story, I would want Mason Rader to film and edit it. But Stu Baylor, we don't even need to tell his life story. Just the story of his 2020 is going to be a phenomenal story. And you got to believe that one of the bullet points in that story is going to be, and then when we came back after summer break.
Yep, exactly. And that is going to be a big bullet point and a big and then as Stu Baylor rides victoriously toward that victory lane. Does he know where it is? Of course he does. Big smile across his face. I talked to him before the race and asked him how he was feeling. He says, I'm feeling great, but I don't think I'm angry enough. I think something might have fired him up. I said a few mean things to him to try to fire him up. I don't know if that worked or not, but
he looks pretty angry right now. He said, why? He said no. I think they told him no bikes on the podium.
He's like,
and
why?
He said, why? And he said, yeah, I'm going to show you. Stu Baylor puts bikes on the podium when he wins races.
He doesn't care.
Rules be darned.
Well, you know, and rightfully, that's good for him because he wants to show gratitude and thanks to the manufacturer that stepped in, and gave him the opportunity and the chance to do what he wanted to do. Hey, sounds like Mikey Waynes might be ready to get the full story. Let's head on down to the podium where Stu Baylor stands by with Mikey Waynes.
Thank you, Rodney. Down here with, I'm hot, Mike. Yeah, hot. A little too hot. Down here with Stu Baylor, who snagged that overall win today. Stu, my goodness. There it goes. Stu, talk to us, man. 2 in a row. You've been on Yamaha for 2 races in a row now, and you click off 2 consecutive wins, man. What did it take?
You know, we worked hard this off season, and then had some hiccups there in the middle part of the year. But you know, I knew what I wanted. I knew coming into this season when Caleb announced retirement, I wasn't going to have that many chances, and you know, luckily he slipped up there that first lap, and very seldomly do you see Caleb miss a line. He's so good at remembering them, and in the Penn section there was something that was arrowed both ways, and it just gave me the advantage that I needed over Caleb there, and and once I got in the lead, I knew I could control it, and you know, the dust, that was a big factor today, being able to get up front, getting that lead, control the race. I was keeping an eye on my heart rate and making sure that I wasn't pushing too hard, trying to recover places on the track, and you know, it just everything worked great. You know, I don't know what to say. It's awesome.
Well, Stu, it is apparently my mic doesn't work. Check 1, 2, 3. Yeah, give me this. Stu, my mic doesn't work now, Adam. Stu, to stir the pot a little bit, that's a job of Rodney and I, man. So we're just going to throw it out there. We don't know what 2021's bringing, but we'll say it again. You're undefeated on the Yamaha.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely good. It's everything's just clicking. I instantly meshed with the bike, and you know, there was a few things we had to work out. Drove up to Ohio before the last race, spent I think an hour and 20 minutes total on the bike, and was able to put it on the box. And I think everybody knew that track was one that suited my style, and you know, it was technical. It didn't matter if your bike wasn't perfect, just hammering through it. And I think you know, I honestly have to say I kind of surprised myself here. You know, it was everything was working great. That third hour is absolutely brutal, and I knew when Ben made a charge there, I think lap 3, I saw him running in, and I was kind of just cruising there, and it woke me up. And lap 4, I dropped the hammer, and lap 5, I think I was beat, and I saw that I was still putting time on him, and I was like, all right, it's good, we're done, we'll call it a truce. And that third hour is definitely tough when you haven't done it in a long time.
Stu Baylor, first overall here today at the Burr Oak GNCC.
Yeah, man, and look at this trophy that he's got right there. I love these trophies for the Burr Oak. I'm going back old school GNCC. Remember when the 100-milers had the wood-carved plaques and so forth, and that's exactly what we're back to here today.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful piece of wood, and I'm sure he's going to put that on display in his home and look at that. And, regardless of what the future holds for Stu Baylor, today he's the man. He was the baddest dude on the track today. 2 races in a row, right. 2 GNCC races in a row. And you got to believe that just a lot of good vibes for this guy right now, and his team. These guys, they gave him an opportunity to show what he's capable of. That man right there, Jay Downhour for JDP suspension, has been a big part of Stu's program for quite some time now, and I know they've been working on getting things dialed in. And he actually told me this morning in the trailer before the race, he was setting up, doing some clicker adjustments on Becca's bike, and he said, that's actually off his personal dirt bike, the forks and shock on that machine. And he said, I told him, I don't want it back, I want new ones, because you destroyed them. So it's a whole team. Randy Hawkins, Corey McDonald, Lucas Statham, all the guys there over at that team on AmPro have given Stu Baylor an opportunity. Another story in a story, Corey McDonald and Stu Baylor have been best friends since they were on minis. Now Corey is the team manager at AmPro. He's able to put Stu on a bike. Randy Hawkins, obviously with a phenomenal relationship with Yamaha and all the resources to make it happen, reaches out. Everybody comes together. Again, Jay helping dial in the bike. And Stu's the guy that gets to go out there and say, thank you guys for all that you've done. Yeah. Here's another win.
Yeah, and wow. There's not a lot of people that can live this kind of life, man. There's only a few elite athletes in the individual sports that are out there. And in any sports you go into, you find these guys that are capable of doing things like this. But, a guy like Stu, a storied 2020 season, but, even more a storied XC1 career. But you look at the big picture, just a storied life in general for that guy right there.
Say what you want about Stu Baylor, and obviously, Rodney, you and I have talked about this. You love the guy's style. At times, I wish he would hold his tongue a little bit at the same time. At the same time, let me say right now, when you go out and ride like that, you can say what you want. You can do what you want. He's always been respectful. Our versions of things may vary, but when you go out and ride like that, Stu, man, you do you, buddy.
Exactly. That's Stu do, hashtag Stu do you.
Now we might be getting a little carried away with it. But I like the hashtag Stu crew. That's a good one. There we see in the background Ben Kelly looking like he's getting ready to put his factory FMF KTM up on the podium there, the number 530 machine. Second place on the day in XC1, second place overall, and kind of like we talked about, a little bit of just a kind of redo of 2 weeks ago.
Right. So let's head on back down to the podium. Mikey Waynes is with our second place rider for 2 races in a row.
Right there you go. Thanks, Rodney. Well, down here with second place finisher Ben Kelly. Man, phenomenal day. It seems like with the rhythm and the consistency you've had just in the last few races, you'd never know that you were out for a large portion of this season, man. So what's making the difference for you this year, or toward the end of this year, I should say?
Yeah, like you said, I got hurt in the beginning, and it was a bummer because I was really looking forward to putting in a strong rookie season here. But yeah, I'm coming back healthy. I've been, grinding ever since I was allowed to get back on a bike, and yeah, things are just starting to click finally. I'm feeling good, and I had a good race. Got the whole shot, but almost wish I checked up so I could have not overshot the corner and been stuck in that dust first lap. But still a good start, and I felt good today. A few little mistakes here and there, but that's typical GNCC style. I felt like I rode really good. Stu just beat me straight up, and yeah, it was a fun race. Track was cool, tight, technical, and had some fast, open stuff that you could really flow through. So yeah, overall a good race.
So 3 rounds of racing left, with this being round 10. We're going to see a Ben Kelly center of the box win before the season's up.
Yeah, I got to make it happen. I was hoping to get more wins this year than I did last year, and it's looking like it's going to be tough, but going to try to make it happen and come to the next race strong.
There you go. Congratulations, Ben Kelly taking second place in the overall here at the Burr Oak GNCC.
Yeah, and I apologize to Ben. That's right. He did get the whole shot. I think I mentioned a few moments ago that maybe Caleb had gotten the whole shot, but he was up there and amongst that with the whole shot. But yeah, congratulations.
He's got the big check to prove it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. As soon as he said that, I'm like, my mind started going back. I'm like, oh, yeah, he did. So
I'm sure he doesn't mind, Rodney. Like you said,
it doesn't matter what I
got the check, and more importantly, he knows that the key is being up there and to be second place on the day, and knowing that he was so close to being able to battle Stu for that win. He's going to go home, like Steve Hatch was in here talking about. It's those little tweaks.
Yep.
And Ben Kelly's on the rebound from an injury.
Yep.
Obviously, Stu is as well. Stu's got his clickers, not his suspension clickers, his brain clickers dialed. Ben's going to go back, go to work with the team, on the bike, on himself. We'll see a stronger Ben Kelly in 2 weeks.
Yeah, like Steve was saying, at this level, a lot of it is mental, and that's what I'm sure, as much as the physical he's going to be working on, he's going to be working a lot on the mental side of things as well. So, it excites me even more now. I'm not going to lie. I'm excited even more now for our next round of racing, seeing what we've had unfold here today, and then the next race after that, and the next race. I hate to wish my life away, but man, I just so bad want to see what the end of this story is going to be like in 2020.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for our third place rider, which will be Grant Baylor, to come up, one thing to mention, we talked about it a little bit, but as we kind of wait how this, as you said, the end of the story, or how this 2020 season unfolds, today was a big mix-up with things with Caleb Russell going out of the race. Again, a 63-point lead. I don't know, did Josh Strang check in yet? We last saw he was up to 14th place overall. That was a 4 complete. 13th. So that's going to equate to 8 points. So he's taken that 63 gap down to 55. So 55 points.
And depending on what issues, if any, lingering issues for Caleb Russell in the coming weeks, hey, this could shed a light into the possibility that if things work out in his favor, you never know what could happen here with this championship.
Yeah, so I'm sure Caleb Russell and the FMF KTM team are going to be focusing on getting Caleb healthy and ready to go for the race in 2 weeks, or whatever they decide as a team, whatever his best course of action. Again, still a 55-point lead per my math, at least, as things stand. But, yeah, things just got a little bit more interesting, and pretty interesting to see this guy up on the podium. Again, we've already seen it, but we've had a couple times where he was in a podium position, had some issues late. Today, he holds on this one all the way to the finish on that Factory 1 Sherco. Grant Baylor, the Grizzly. Great ride for him today. Again, just a click off of his brother and Ben Kelly, but still a very, very solid race throughout. And Rodney, you're the one that called this years ago. This guy just gets stronger as the season goes and even as the races go.
This is hot.
No doubt about it. It's hot, and the mic's hot there, Grant, and so is your riding right now, buddy. Congratulations on third today.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was a good day. I actually got off to a pretty good start for once, and stayed with the lead group there for a little ways, and then Stuart and Ben just seemed to break away from me there, and Caleb, and then not long after that, saw Caleb down there in the pin section, and stopped check on him, and then stopped and told some guys that he was down back there, and after that I kind of lost track of Stuart and Ben, and then kind of just rode my race from there, tried to break back away from Jordan and Andrew and Lane there towards mid-race, and I was able to get away from those guys and ride a solid third place, so happy.
Well, big congratulations to you, Grant. Man, feeling good on the Factory 1 Sherco. What's it going to take to get you center of the box before the season's up?
Well, I guess I'm just going to have to go a little faster than Big Brother. But, this I believe is the first time me and Stuart have been on the overall podium together, so definitely a memorable day. Had a lot of memorable days here at the Penton. Got my first win here a couple years ago, so it's always been a good track for me, and, I'm really happy with the day's result.
Big congratulations. Here he is, third place today in the overall, Grant Baylor.
I'm going to be honest with you, Rodney. I would have thought that at some point they had already been on an overall podium together. But that's pretty cool. First time they're going to share a podium. Although they technically, COVID, man, they don't actually get to share it. But, theoretically, they're both on the podium together, and that's pretty dang cool.
That is very cool, and historic for the family from that respect. So congratulations to the Baylor boys, and individually and collectively between those guys, because, again, Grant's another one one of those riders that brings a lot. He's got his historic first and one and only win right here at the Sunday Creek Raceway, although he says he wants to do it in a different way because he got that one by process of elimination with a couple of guys losing some positions that day.
Yeah, I mean, still, I've heard Grant say that many times. Grant won that race. You know,
yeah,
regardless, you know, the without going into the you know, all the semantics of it, the rules are the rules. When they looked at it, they said, Grant, everybody, you know, per the rules today, you won the race. Here's your win. Not here's your win. You earned this win.
Right.
But I understand totally as a racer, you know, as a fan on the outside, in my mind, Grant Baylor absolutely earned that win. He has that win. By the same token, from Grant, you know, I understand he wants to just cross the finish line first.
And with rides like what we're seeing coming on right now, it's building up to just exactly that.
Yeah, and it's not just today. I mean, this has been going for Grant like this most of the season. You know, they've had some issues. It's a new team, a new bike, but he's been in a podium position and even, you know, battling not per se for wins, but up there not far off the win late in a number of races. And again, shout out to Jay Downhour there, also doing Grant's suspension. So there's two guys that he's got two of those guys on the podium.
Well, let's, while we reset some things and get some things organized, let's take a look at some of these other classes. The XC2, well, let's look at the total field of the XC1 Pro class. We'll see Baylor, Kelly Baylor, then Jordan Ashburn will get 4th, Andrew DeLong in 5th in class, 6th in class will be Josh Strangling. Michael will take 7th in class, Evan Earl 8th in class, Caleb Russell with 1 lap says he is 9th place. Now as we look down into the XC2 250 Pro class, working their way up to the podium right now, Johnny G, Mike Witkowski, Craig DeLong, your top 3. Snodgrass holds on to 4th. Cody Barnes rounds out your top 5 with Draper in 6th. Thorne Devlin in 7th. Jesse Ansley 8th. Jonathan Johnson in 9th. And Ben Nelko rounding out the top 10. And the rider taking the win here in this one, the 969, Mikey Waynes, get to celebrate with another winner.
Thanks, Rodney. Yeah, down here, Johnny Gerard, man, hot start early. Did not take you long to get into the pack, into the mix with the XC1 riders, man. This was yours from start to finish. What did it take to get out in front of the class and capture the XC2 win?
Yeah, I just, you know, working on my hole shots and stuff, finally figured them out and got the bike starting good, going into the woods, you know, in the top 5, top 3 helps a lot. Got by, made some moves. Caught the XC1 guys quick. You know, they don't want to let us by, so kind of lost my flow there. Mikey caught me. I made a mistake 3rd lap in the John Penton section. Sapling grabbed my foot and ripped me off the bike, and my bike fell into the weeds, and it was hard to pick up. Mikey was right on my rear wheel, so I, you know, kind of put the hammer down again and battled back and forth with Andrew DeLong a little bit, and just tried to stay mistake-free, and actually went down the last lap too. Lost the front tire in the silt, but just put it all together, rode smooth and smart, and yeah, came out on top. It was good.
Johnny Gallagher. Johnny Gallagher's in the booth. Johnny Gerard, how many times do we do that every weekend? Johnny G, Steve Hatch joined us in the booth today, and he talked about your speed, how the speed's always been there, but you've become more of a complete rider. What kind of difference has a guy like Steve Hatch in your corner made for you?
Huge. Just working with Steve and his wife Denise, and working on mental strength, and you know, staying focused the 3 hours, and you know, just knowing and being confident coming into these races, and everyone's tired out there. You just got to push through it, and some days are better than others.
I would say today was one of those days better than others. Make some noise. First place finisher in the XC2, Johnny Gerard.
Congratulations, Johnny, on another big win in the XC2 250 Pro class. And from one Johnny G down to this Johnny G now in the booth with us, Johnny Gallagher. Man, what a day of racing. What a weekend of racing. I mean, this is an event that we didn't even expect to be at. I mean, we knew we were going to be racing this weekend, but we never dreamed, at least me, in a million years, that we'd be back in Ohio for a second time.
Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. You know, it's been 2020's been a year of overcoming, adapting, and you know, it's just awesome to be out here racing and have the opportunity to do this show and let the folks at home follow along. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Rodney, thanks for having me as always.
Not a problem. Real quick, FMF XC3 finishes up Zach Hayes, Jason Lipscomb, Michael DeLosa, Jason Raines, Brian DeSalt, your top 5. And overall, as far as top amateurs are concerned, we say congratulations today to your 14th place overall finisher from out of Murray City, Ohio, JoJo Cunningham, your your top amateur rider today. That's going to wrap things up from the Sunday Creek Raceway for the Burr Oak GNCC. On behalf of all of us here at Racer TV, Johnny Gallagher, Mikey Waynes, Ryan Amancio, and everybody in that booth, and everybody out there on those cameras, and all the technical guys that make this happen, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.